Stefana, Casey, Bustos. Hello, hello, hello. This is not another boring podcast. Judge Weimer under the microscope, Mustafa Al Jazari through the police body cams. Bustos, Stefana, Casey, hello, hello, hello.
Hello, 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 hello.
All right.
Sir,
So
you're on time today.
we are on time. We're on schedule. We have a lot to talk about. I've got the iPad set up. I've got the cell phone set up. There is body cams that we're gonna go over. We're gonna take a deep dive into the dash camera that the prosecutor have been concealing for 2 years. Unfortunately for this prosecutor, we have the dash camera, and it shows that this prosecutor have been lying about Mustafa. They say that this vehicle accident is not an accident. When it's on dash camera, we see a vehicle accident. We're going to take a deep dive into this dash camera. We're going to dissect this dash camera. And unfortunately for this prosecutor, where we have a YouTube channel where we can take a deep dive into this dash camera. Now we're going to dissect it. And what I mean, on YouTube, there's a feature where every time you watch the dash camera, you can write specifically the time of what is happening on this dash camera. Now we're going to watch this dash camera and we're going to be taking notes. What are we watching on this dash camera? And as we're watching this dash camera, we're going to write the time with what is happening on this dash camera. And we're going to have a conversation. The conversation that this prosecutor is attempting to avoid. And after we watch this dash camera, we're gonna go over the. So this dash camera is posted on YouTube and it's posted on TikTok. Now, on TikTok, it reached 500,000 people that saw this dash camera, and we have a lot of comments on there. Now, a lot of it is when you read this dash camera, I can't help but notice, are people watching the details on this dash camera? You have over 500,000 people that saw this dash camera, 286 people that shared this dash camera, and 487 comments. Now we're going to go through these comments, and we're going to point out what is happening on this dash camera. We're going to identify the comments that are trolling the Mustafa Al Jazari case. We're going to clarify if individuals are misinformed. And I can't blame a lot of people for not understanding what is happening in the Mustafa Al Jazari case. Now, this situation has been ongoing for 2 years. This is a tragic vehicle accident where Mustafa lost his family in that vehicle. Mustafa was in a coma. Mustafa was helicoptered to the hospital. And this police department, we have evidence that's sealed by the government that they falsified every police report in Mustafa Al Jazari's case. That the body cam, where the police admit that this is a vehicle accident, that Mustafa did everything he can to avoid a vehicle accident. It's on body cams, on their police body cam. But they concealed and sealed off these body cams. And instead, they falsified the police reports. It's been 2 years, and the community cannot see these body cams, cannot see this dash camera, because Commonwealth Amy Ashworth went to Judge Carol Weimer and got an order to seal everything off. Now, we can't help the community not knowing what is going on in the Mustafa Al Jazari case when the police department are engaged in falsified police reports in the media, and the media is only doing and reporting on what the police are saying when they're lying about Mustafa. Shelly, hello, hello, hello. I am so happy that you're here, ma'am.
I
Now,
miss it.
yes, ma'am. We're gonna go into and take a deep dive into the dash camera. Now, this dash camera has been sealed off by the Commonwealth Attorney. It's sealed off by the police department. It's sealed off by Carol Judge Weimer, who we're alleging that he's been impartial. And through this podcast, we're going to prove that he's been impartial. We're in circuit court. Circuit court is a court of record. And what he's been ruling on for the past 2 years is nothing more than covering for a prosecutor that's lying, a police department that's lying about Mustafa. And through this podcast, we're going to show that Judge Carol Weimer is not ruling on the evidence. Instead, he's just covering for the police department and this prosecutor that's lying about Mustafa Al-Jazari. Now, I have this iPad. I'm gonna turn it toward the live, and hopefully everybody that's watching the YouTube can see the dash camera. Let's see if that's a good setup. I've got this cell phone. I think what I'll be doing is using this cell phone for the dash camera. Let me pull up the dash camera. And I'm going to use this iPad because there's other body cams that are relevant to what is happening in the background that I'm going to be also playing at the same time. Let's see. Let me pull up the dash camera. Now, this dash camera, the police department for the past 2 years claimed that this dash camera does not have audio. Now, unfortunately for the prosecutor and the police department, we have the sealed discovery. And in that sealed discovery, we have a document that says Officer Zymas with the digital forensic admit that in fact this dash camera does have audio and it's on the SD card. Now, the Prosecutor Sarah Sammy, Commonwealth Amy Ashworth, and the police department blocked every effort for Mustafa to hire an independent expert to go in and extract this audio from this SD card. By law, Mustafa should be able to hire an independent expert to go in and download the audio off the SD card. Now, for the past 2 years, the Commonwealth Attorney Amy Ashworth, Prosecutor Sarah Sammy, Judge Carol Weimer, and the police department blocked every effort for Mustafa to hire an independent expert to extract this audio off this dash camera. Now, the question is, for a prosecutor that screams that Mustafa is guilty, and this is intentional, that Mustafa was arguing with his girlfriend inside the vehicle, why is she terrified that she's sealing off this dash camera, preventing Mustafa from having this audio? For a prosecutor that screams Mustafa is guilty, she's terrified that this evidence is going to be on the record. But I can tell Prosecutor Sarah Sammy to rest assured that we're going to get an independent expert and have this audio be on the record. Now, we have the dash camera. And when we're watching this dash camera, we're going to see that this is a vehicle accident. That there is no argument inside the vehicle. It's a tragic vehicle accident, and the prosecutor is terrified that this dash camera is going to be watched by the community. She's hiding it. I mean, if it's not up for this podcast, if it's not me releasing this dash camera, you will never see this dash camera. What you see is a deformed version of a dash camera on NBC4, no more than 4 seconds. What they did, they cut and chopped up this dash camera, put it on NBC4. Julie Carey tells the community this is what happened. No, ma'am, that's not what happened. You cut. It's a deformed version of the dash camera, and the prosecutor is terrified to have the community watch this dash camera. Let me pull up this dash camera, and we're going to take a deep dive into what happened, what is going on this dash camera. All right, if I can find it, it's in here somewhere. If you go on Free Mustafa Al-Jazari on YouTube, Not Another Boring Podcast, you'll see the dash camera on here. Let's see. If you go on TikTok, if you type Not Another Boring Podcast, You'll see the dash camera posted. And when we're watching this dash camera, if I can ask everybody to take notes to the details of what Mustafa, what his girlfriend Dorothy, what 5-year-old Empress is doing inside this vehicle. There are timestamps that the prosecutor is terrified, there we go, that the community is going to get to see. All right, we're going to use the cell phone. Okay, we're going to put the cell phone facing the live. All right, there we go. Everybody can see it. Same time, I'm going to pull it up on my iPad so that way I can notate the details. Now you see the dash camera. Mustafa is about to enter the vehicle. This dash camera, according to the police department, has no audio, but we have a document in the discovery that's sealed by the government that in fact this dash camera does have audio, and the audio is on the SD cards. But the police department is too terrified to release that audio because it's going to show that there is no argument inside the vehicle. Now you see Mustafa coming into the vehicle through the driver's side. Now, keep in mind, there's a Google Nest inside the apartment that show that Mustafa loves his family and his family loves him. His girlfriend Dorothy, 5-year-old Empress, the kids. There's a 9-year-old kid. There's a 10. There's a 14-year-old kid, Javen. You see Mustafa on here. He's washing the car. Okay, and his girlfriend and 5-year-old Empress is about to come out the apartment and enter the vehicle. While Mustafa waits for Dorothy and Empress, Mustafa is washing his car. Now, the police department, the prosecutor Sarah Sammy and Commonwealth Amy Ashworth claimed that Mustafa, on this day, crashed the vehicle on purpose. Now, for a guy that wants to crash his vehicle on purpose, why is he washing his car? This is, what time is this? So at 1:09, timestamp 1:09, Mustafa is washing his vehicle. Washing vehicle. Okay. Now these are questions, these are detailed, these are very important details in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. Okay. He's washing his car, he's perfuming himself. Are we at that part? Yep. He's perfuming himself at, let's see, he opens the front passenger seat and takes out a bottle of perfume, and exactly at 2:17 began perfuming himself. 2:17 perfuming himself. Okay. Now after he gets done perfuming himself, what does he do? He perfumes Dorothy's seat, his girlfriend's seat. And then he perfumes 5-year-old Empress seat in the back. And then he perfumes his car. For a guy that wants to crash a vehicle on purpose, he's perfuming himself. He's perfuming his girlfriend's seat. This is 2:20 perfume and baby seat. For a guy that's crashing, that wants to crash his vehicle on purpose, he's sitting there perfuming himself, perfuming his girlfriend's seat, perfuming 5-year-old Empress seat in the back. That doesn't add up, prosecutor. And then he goes back to continue washing his car. Takes out a piece of napkin. 250. Continue washing car. Prosecutor Sarah Sammy. Is this why you're terrified that the community is watching this dash camera? Now, I need to catch up. I'm going to rewind a little bit because I was busy taking notes. Okay. All right. So this is where we're at. He's continuing to wash his car. I just rewinded a little bit. So that way we're at the same spot. So at 250, he's washing. He continued to wash his vehicle. And you see that Dorothy and 5-year-old Empress with Dorothy holding flowers in her hands. Now, what are they doing? They're going to, it's their mom's anniversary. So 240. Okay, so at 3:30, Dorothy and Empress enter her vehicle with flowers. They're going to their Dorothy's mom's anniversary. It's Dorothy's mom's anniversary. They're going to her mom's cemetery. It's her mom's anniversary, and she has flowers. Now, those flowers are going to be relevant in a later conversation when Mustafa has a conversation with Investigator Drum, who pretends that he doesn't know what he's talking about. Dorothy enters the vehicle. And if you pay attention, when Dorothy enters the vehicle, Mustafa is telling her to make sure that 5-year-old Empress is buckled in. Dorothy gets out the vehicle, and she buckles 5-year-old Empress. For a guy that wants to crash the vehicle on purpose. What are we looking at here? Mustafa cares about Empress, that he's telling Dorothy to make sure that she's buckled. Now, if you watch, he's not buckled. Dorothy's not buckled. They're saying that Mustafa crashed the vehicle on purpose. Now, if I was crashing the vehicle on purpose, and if I wanted to crash the vehicle on purpose, wouldn't you think that I'm going to buckle myself in? That I'm going to remove this dash camera that I have in the car? Prosecutor Sarah Sammy, the details are not adding up. So you see Mustafa, you see he's gesturing to Dorothy to make sure that 5-year-old Empress is buckled. And then you see that he's talking to 5-year-old Empress, and she's, if I can ask everybody to mute because there's an echo with YouTube. You see that 5-year-old Empress turns on, there's a giant speaker in the back, and 5-year-old Empress turns on the speaker for Mustafa. Now, you want to tell me that baby does not have a good relationship with Mustafa? If 5-year-old Empress did not have a good relationship with Mustafa, and she did not love Mustafa, that baby would not have turned on the speaker for him. You see that it's a father-daughter relationship. Now, keep in mind, Mustafa is not the father. Mustafa met Dorothy 3 months ago before this vehicle accident and took on taking care of the children. And we have the Google Nest that shows how much Mustafa loved those kids and how much the kids love Mustafa and how much Mustafa and Dorothy love each other. Unfortunately for this prosecutor, she's terrified that the Google Nest is coming out. She refused and terrified to look at the Google Nest because it doesn't fit her narrative. You see the, where are we at with the dash camera? Let's see. Okay, so there, Mustafa is setting up his cell phone to the giant speaker in the background. When you watch the music go back and forth, that's the GBL speaker. When the light go back and forth, that means the music is playing in the background. And the faster it goes back and forth, the louder the music is. Mustafa began driving. You have 5-year-old Empress in the back, and Dorothy is sitting in the passenger seat. Now they're on their way to the cemetery. Dorothy's mom, is her mom's anniversary. It's a very emotional day for Dorothy. In the background to all this, a lot of the community does not know that Dorothy has cancer. She's in a lot of pain. And they went to the dentist. There's something wrong with her teeth. So there's a whole lot of things. These details become relevant when you're watching the details in this dash camera. Now they're on their way. They're listening to music. Dorothy is fixing her hair. Mustafa is driving. 5-year-old Empress in the back. She's eating some snacks. And the giant speaker in the background is playing. There's music. Mustafa is driving. And when you're watching the details in this dash camera, you don't see Mustafa driving reckless. Mustafa is driving normal. He's going speed limit. We see a Mustafa that's not reckless. The prosecutor likes to tell the community that Mustafa is a reckless driver. That's not what we're seeing on this dash camera. We're seeing a Mustafa that's following the speed limit. The computer inside the vehicle showed that Mustafa was going speed limit. Now, if you watch the dash camera, if you zoom in, you'll see that the dash camera says 77 mile an hour. The odometer to the dash camera is not calibrated to the speed limit. And you'll verify that out when Mustafa pulls into a 7-Eleven and he parked his car at the gas station. You'll see that the odometer does not change. Now, the prosecutor knows that, but she plays a very disgusting game. And she airs out 4 seconds on NBC4 and doesn't clarify that the odometer does not work. And she trolls the conversation by opening the door that the community thinks that Mustafa is going 77 miles an hour, that this is a reckless man driving 77 miles an hour. That odometer does not work. And when you watch the full dash camera, when you see him pull into a 7-Eleven, you'll verify that this odometer does not work. Now, you'll see that Dorothy is rolling a cigar. Now, it's very easy to troll the conversation and say that, oh, were they smoking weed? This is hemp. Dorothy's blood, Mustafa's blood, has no alcohol and has no drugs. Mustafa is clear for alcohol. Mustafa is clear for drugs. Their toxicology reports show no alcohol, no drugs. What Dorothy is smoking is hemp. Dorothy has cancer, and to help with the pain, hemp help with the pain. Now, Mustafa exits the vehicle, pulls into a 7-Eleven, exits the vehicle. Now, he's inside 7-Eleven while Dorothy is left in the car. 5-year-old Empress is left in the car. Now, I'm going to pause this real quick. And unfortunately for the prosecutor, we have the CCTV inside 7-Eleven. Now, the details are very important. Details matter in this case. Now, Mustafa is inside 7-Eleven. And what is he doing inside 7-Eleven? He's buying gas and he's buying a cigarette. Let's watch the CCTV from 7-Eleven. Now, there is a very unique detail. On the CCTV, you see Mustafa is buying cigarette. And on his cell phone, he's pulling up a coupon to save $2 off his Newports, off his cigarette. For a guy that wants to crash his vehicle on purpose, you want to tell me that he's in 7-Eleven pulling up coupon for like 10 minutes because apparently the guy at the register didn't want to use the coupon, and then another guy comes in. He had to pull it up from his email, blah, 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 blah. For a guy that wants to crash his vehicle on purpose, you want to tell me that he's pulling a coupon to save $2 only to crash his vehicle on purpose later? Let's watch that CCTV. And I'm going to use the iPad. Okay, there we go. I'm going to zoom in. There we go. We can zoom in. All right, so Mustafa pulls in to 7-Eleven. He exits the vehicle. And inside 7-Eleven, Mustafa is buying a cigarette. Okay, you'll see Dorothy, 5-year-old Empress in the vehicle. There we go. That's better. I'm going to fast forward this just a little bit. There we go. There we go. To when Mustafa enters 7-Eleven. There we go. There we go. That's Mustafa. Prosecutor Sarah Sami. You're concealing CCTV and body cams, and you're terrified that the community is watching Mustafa pull up a coupon. You see that coupon? You'll see it. There we go. There we go. For a guy that wants to crash his vehicle on purpose. You want to tell me that he's pulling up a coupon to save $2 off a pack of cigarettes only to crash the vehicle on purpose? Prosecutor Sarah Sami, what are you hiding from this community? You're terrified that these details are coming out to the community. You see Mustafa buying a cigarette, and he's pulling up a coupon, and the guy is giving him a hard time, blah, 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 blah. And then the other guy comes in and let him, okay, so he lets this guy, he's like, you can go ahead and go in front of me while I pull up the coupon. Now, unfortunately for this prosecutor, we also have the CCTV outside the 7-Eleven. The vehicle, when it pulls in to 7-Eleven. Now, I'm going to pause this really quick. And I want to mention a very important detail. Going to fast forward just a little bit. There we go. Mustafa's vehicle. There we go. That's Mustafa's vehicle right there. A lot of people are trolling the conversation. And they're saying Mustafa's vehicle had no problem hitting the brake. He can hit the brake. We have body cam where the mechanic, the police mechanic, inside the police mechanic, inside the police department, inspect Mustafa's vehicle and find brake failure. Now, they find brake failure, they find transmission failure. Mustafa's vehicle going 20 miles an hour, he can hit the brake. That's no problem. Going 30 miles an hour, the vehicle stops. Mustafa was going 55 miles an hour. At 55, when he hit the brake, the computer inside the vehicle showed that Mustafa was hitting the brake. And the RPM was shooting really high. Now, when the police mechanic inspected the vehicle, they found brake failure and transmission failure. That the drive shaft disconnected from the engine. That would explain that Mustafa's foot, the computer inside the vehicle, showed that Mustafa's foot wasn't on the gas, was only on the brake. But the RPM is shooting up really high. Mustafa is hitting the brake. The computer showed that Mustafa is hitting the brake, but the RPM is shooting up really high. Now, Mustafa managed to get the vehicle from 55 to 35, but the vehicle would not come to a complete stop. Now, when the police mechanic inspect the vehicle, they find out that the back passenger caliper did not work. The front passenger caliper did not work. There's brake failure. That the drive shaft disconnected from the engine. Now that would explain the RPM inside the computer shooting up really high. When the drive shaft disconnects, the engine has no option but to shoot up. The RPM is shooting up. Now, the prosecutor tells the judge, Your Honor, this has nothing to do with the vehicle accident. That when we were towing the vehicle, this damage was done because we towed the vehicle the wrong way. That's not true. This vehicle is not an all four-wheel drive. This is a two-wheel drive. Now, there is no way that you damaged this vehicle and disconnected the drive shaft from the engine just towing the vehicle. You pull the vehicle from the back. There is no pressure on the vehicle anymore. When you tow the vehicle, this is not an all-wheel drive vehicle. There is no way that this damage was done from the accident because the frame is intact. If you look at the vehicle, the frame is intact. The only way that you can explain mechanical failure is that the drive shaft disconnected and the caliper failed to work. Let's watch the body cam from the police mechanic and come back to the dash camera and continue taking a deep dive into this dash camera.
If you shop at Walmart, watch this immediately. Now to the...
And this body cam that's sealed by the government. You see that the police mechanic is asking Investigator Davis to press the brake while he spins the wheel. And at one point, you see that the police mechanic is calling out for Investigator Davis that the wheel keeps spinning, that there is no brake on this vehicle. There's brake failure. There we go. You see the police mechanic is going to be asking Investigator Davis to press the brake while he spins the wheel. And you're going to see that the wheel continue to spin.
Yeah, that's fine. I think we can do that. Okay. Hey, Bruce, I'm going to push the brake. He's going to spin that. Can you? That's fine. Then on your cam, can you see record the stopping of the motion? No, it's fine. No, I was. Go forward. Go forward. All right. It works? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Just tell me when you're ready. You ready? Yep. I'm applying. That one's still going?
That one's still going.
Okay. That's fine.
What you have here is brake failure.
Take a look at that one. 'Cause
Investigator Davis is depressing the brake, and the police mechanic is spinning the wheel, and the wheel keeps going.
Hey, Cruz, watch the front one. Hey, Cruz, you got that one?
This body cam is sealed off by the government, and they're terrified at the details that the community is going to be watching. Now, Bustos, I want to say hello to everybody. Julia, thank you for being here. Shirley, Stefana, Shelly, Becky, Bustos has a question that I think is very relevant to the conversation that we're having. Bustos, how are you, ma'am? I think your mic. Char is here. Hello, Char. Hello. Bustos is in the chat, right? Is Bustos here or no? Bustos. Hello. Busto, you had a question, ma'am?
Did you have a question, Christine? She's not talking.
I think Bustos. I think your mic is on mute. We'll wait. Julia, how are you, ma'am? Thank you for being here. We'll wait for Bustos to turn on her mic because she has a very good question, and I think this question is very relevant to the conversation. Now,
I got a question.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
When you said that the transmission come apart from the engine.
The drive shaft. Yes, ma'am. Disconnect. Yes, ma'am.
Drive shaft?
Yeah.
All right. You said the RPMs went up. Does that mean that the car started going faster?
Okay. So when the drive.
Engine.
No. So when the drive shaft disconnects from the engine, the vehicle has no option for the engine to start revving up. Now, that's what the computer inside the vehicle showed, that the RPM is shooting up really high, and Mustafa's foot is not on the gas, is only on the brake.
All right.
Now, we have information that we'll verify this before we go into details about. All we know is that drive shaft disconnected from the engine. Now, Bustos, yes, ma'am. Bustos asked a question in the chat, and she says, "Was there the drive shaft is held by 3 volts? Were any of these bolts broken in half, or were the bolts not broken?" So we'll be posting pictures that the bolts were missing. That there were bolts missing. That in fact the bolts were missing. This vehicle just came out of a shop 2 weeks ago. Mustafa's brakes, the passenger, the back passenger, the brakes were brand new. There was a new transmission installed into the vehicle, a new used transmission into the vehicle. The front end was rebuilt. So Mustafa was given a vehicle that's supposed to not have any mechanical failure. But here we are with the police department, the police mechanic on body cam say there is brake failure. This body cam by the way, it's about a 2 hour body cam. It goes into details into the brake failure. It goes into details into the transmission failure. On body cam, admit there is mechanical failure. Vehicle malfunction. The vehicle malfunctioned. When the drive shaft disconnects from the engine, the vehicle doesn't know what's happening anymore. Now, were there bolts missing? We're going to be posting the pictures. Yes, the bolts were missing. Let's go back to the dash camera. And the reason we took and went into the body cams about the brakes, because when people are watching this dash camera, they're saying, well, he pulled into a 7-Eleven, he had no problem hitting the brake. Yes. When you're going 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, yeah, you have brake. But you don't have, Mustafa did not have complete brake. As a matter of fact, had brake vehicle malfunction. The drive shaft disconnected from the engine. The calipers did not engage. Mustafa did not have complete brakes. He managed to get the computer inside the vehicle show from 55 to 35, but the vehicle would not stop. As a matter of fact, the police body cam show that Mustafa cleared the vehicle and the SUV turned into him. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. Let's watch the body cam of the investigator Drum, investigator Chad Mason, on their own body cam admit that Mustafa cleared the vehicle and the SUV turned into him. That Mustafa had skid marks, did everything he can to avoid a vehicle accident, and the SUV turned into Mustafa. Now, you won't find this in any of the police reports. You'll find it only on their body cam. Admit that Mustafa did everything he can to avoid the vehicle accident. Let's watch that body cam that's sealed by the government. Terrified that these details are going to come out. And what you hear on this is investigator Chad Mason admit that 5-year-old Empress was in fact buckled. I mean, we saw Dorothy buckle 5-year-old Empress. So what are they doing, lying on the news saying that 5-year-old Empress was not buckled? They lied to the community. For the past 2 years, they've been lying to the community. Let's watch that again.
So driver's not buckled. Neither is mom drive shotgun. So at least the kid was. Kid was buckled.
The kid was buckled.
That's the double size. She was buckled. Looks like I'll be coming in tomorrow. So you see your marks out, drop? Well, the AOI is somewhere around here. That comes all the way back to about right here. He was in that yaw, he just continued to spun her around, almost in place. Because your marks end right around in here. So figure that away. So I mean, those are definitely theirs. They don't have some. It doesn't come off till here.
So you think that's the free tire?
I think so, because it comes here to rotate.
It's causing the infinity mark right here by the AOI. Well, this is spinning, but it only spun once. Because that's all the drag marks from the front right. That's all fucked up right there.
It's greasy.
you have skid from him? Yeah, so that's all him. He spun twice. Because the damage is on the right, which caused him to flip that way. So.
And then it finally broke off with suit.
No, that's her.
They're coming in sideways.
Yep.
Gets popped, rotates.
She just rolls backwards.
So here's the question: which way did they? Because she comes straight, she hits.
She would have turned into it.
She would have turned into him. The only way that this vehicle accident could happen is she turned into him. Mustafa did everything he can to avoid a vehicle accident. Now, on Chad Mason, on the stand in front of Judge Carol Weimer, say that Mustafa had no skid marks. Now, this is on the record in circuit court. Chad Mason takes the stand, and he says Mustafa had no skid marks. And what he's insinuating is Mustafa did not attempt to do anything to stop the vehicle, to avoid the vehicle accident. Now, we just watched this body cam that's sealed off by the prosecutor, sealed off by Judge Carol Weimer, that all these are Mustafa's skid marks, indicating that Mustafa is attempting to stop the vehicle that we just watched on body cam had mechanical failure. And what did the investigator drum say? That he cleared all the vehicle, and she must, the only way for this to happen is she turned into him. And Chad Mason, on body cam, admit that they've lied to the community. That 5-year-old Empress was in fact buckled. I mean, for the love of God, we just watched the dash camera and we see that Mustafa's telling Dorothy to make sure that 5-year-old Empress is buckled, and Dorothy gets out the seat and she buckles 5-year-old Empress. Let's continue watching the dash camera and taking a deep dive into what this prosecutor is terrified that we're going to see. Now, that's inside the vehicle, that's outside the vehicle from a CCTV. You see Mustafa is pulling in, Mustafa is exiting the vehicle, he goes into a 7-Eleven, and we just watched, what did we just watch? We watched Mustafa spend almost a good 10 minutes attempting to save $2 off his pack of cigarette for a guy that wants to crash his vehicle on purpose. He's sitting there trying to save $2 off his cigarette. Prosecutor, it's not adding up, ma'am. All right, so let's continue watching this dash camera. On the outside, we have, okay, Mustafa is inside 7-Eleven. There we go. That's Mustafa. Now, what's unique is that you'll see that Mustafa exits the vehicle, is inside 7-Eleven. He's inside 7-Eleven, and Dorothy began to cry. Mustafa is nowhere next to her. Now, what is Dorothy going through that she began crying? Now, the investigator lied on his police report and say that Dorothy was crying as Mustafa was in a heated argument with her. Dorothy began to cry, and Mustafa drives into oncoming traffic. That's not true. Mustafa is nowhere next to Dorothy. Mustafa is inside 7-Eleven. The poor guy is trying to save $2 off his pack of cigarette. Dorothy is going through whatever she's going through that day, that she is thinking about whatever, and began to cry. Now let's talk about what is Dorothy going through. Dorothy, it's a very emotional day for Dorothy. She's going to her mom's anniversary. They're going to the cemetery. And Dorothy has cancer. Hence, the cigar that she's smoking inside the vehicle, it's hemp. Dorothy and Mustafa's toxicology show no alcohol and no drugs. This is hemp. It's so easy to troll the conversation when you don't have the details. But we're here, and we're going to continue to talk about what this prosecutor is doing to Mustafa, to the community, and these lies are going to catch up with this prosecutor. Unfortunately for her, we have all the body cams, we have all the documents, and we have a giant podcast that we get to talk about these details. Now, what are we watching here? Dorothy and Empress is waiting for Mustafa. Mustafa is in 7-Eleven. Okay, let's see. He's buying gas. He's saving $2 off his 2-pack of cigarette. Okay, let's see. Yep, they're still waiting. They're waiting. They're waiting. Okay, Dorothy began to cry and then stops crying by the time Mustafa comes back. Mustafa doesn't even know that she cried. But this investigator lies on the police report and says Mustafa was in a heated argument and Dorothy began to cry and Mustafa crashes the vehicle on purpose. That's a lie. There's no argument. Dorothy was crying when Mustafa is inside the 7-Eleven and attempting to save $2 off his pack of cigarette. Now, this investigator never thought that this body cam and this dash camera and the CCTV inside 7-Eleven was going to come out to the community. I mean, this will never come out. This is sealed by the government. Prosecutor Sarah Sammy went to Judge Carol Weimer and got a judge order to seal it from the community. I mean, no wonder the investigator is so comfortable falsifying the police report because he knows that this will never come out. Now, unfortunately for him, and unfortunately for the prosecutor, we have a police officer out of Prince William County that does not agree with what's happening behind closed doors. Put the material on a flash drive, gave it to me, and now I'm leaking it all over the internet. And we get to talk about what this investigator is doing to Mustafa and how he's lying about Mustafa. I mean, this is a coupon. He's pulling up a coupon, attempting to save $2 off a pack of cigarette. And you want to tell me while we put this on pause, let's pull up another body cam. And we're going to come back to the dash camera. We have a body cam where the investigator is lying about the dash camera on his own body cam. Let's watch that body cam. And let me paint the scene for you. So, this investigator is standing with the prosecutor, is standing with Mustafa's defense attorney at the time was Casey Stephen, who we found out that Casey Stephen is in a relationship with this investigator. He's protecting this investigator, stole our money, and is protecting this investigator. Because apparently in 2016, this defense attorney got in a vehicle accident, a DUI, and fled the scene. And it's the same crash investigator that lied on Mustafa's police report got him off the hook. And he only got 90 days suspended. Now let me go crash a vehicle, be on a DUI, flee the scene, and let me get 90 days suspended. In what world does that happen? Well, it happened to Casey Stephen, and investigator Robert Drum is the one that got him off the hook in 2016. Let's watch that body cam. Now, this is a very interesting body cam. When you're watching the investigator, your defense attorney, Casey Stevens, and at the time, there is a prosecutor, the prosecutor standing there, and there is the independent crash investigator who we hired and paid $5,000 to. And what they're doing is they're putting on a show for this independent private crash investigator to inspect the vehicle, so he doesn't inspect the vehicle. They're telling him Mustafa's guilty. They're painting a scene. They never show him the dash camera. Your own defense attorney, who we supplied him with an audio that this investigator falsified the police report, is sitting there asking the same crash investigator that falsified Mustafa's police report what happened on the dash camera. In what world is that is justified? In what world that's okay? The defense attorney, who knows the investigator falsified the police report, is asking him, what did you see on dash camera? Claiming that he never saw the dash camera, and putting on a show for the independent crash expert who we paid $5,000 to at the time, so that way this crash investigator is so convinced that Mustafa is guilty, is not even going to inspect the vehicle. Let's watch. And in this body cam, you'll see that investigator Drum describe the dash camera, and he flat out lies about the dash camera. He says that in a heated argument, Mustafa was arguing with Dorothy, that Dorothy began to cry, and Mustafa crashes the vehicle on purpose. Did you not expect that we're going to have this dash camera, sir? Did you not expect that we're going to get the body cams, the discovery? Oh, I guess not, because the prosecutor sealed off the material. So you're comfortable engaging in lying about Mustafa on your own body cam. Let's watch this body cam.
You saw the damage.
So they're having a disagreement. Apparently,
Obviously.
you can tell there's tension in the car. But there's 70, 80 videos free. But she gets upset. He's lecturing her or talking to her. She gets upset. And then just he's straight face. Just all of a sudden, her standing on the left hand. You see the front of the car too, you're driving. And you see the inside of all the occupants and the little girl in the back. You can tell seatbelts behind her. And that big speaker, the black one, is sitting right here above her head. He's driving along straight face. After they had an argument or discussion, he goes like this left into the left-hand lane, doesn't hop a curb, just goes straight through the intersection. In the oncoming traffic, doesn't change his face. She starts screaming and yelling. She's up on the car, screaming, "No, Moses, no!" And then the second before they hit that car, it cuts out. So the camera itself rotates every 60 seconds. And before the power cuts off, it's almost like an ACM. It'll lock in. It's designed to do it. It'll lock in the event, so it's stored. Now, I did find out that the camera does have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so it's possible that it went to a cloud. He had an SD card in there as well that we ended up sending off to digital forensics, and they took all the stuff off of it. But yeah, this is a hard one for me. So, like I said, we're still the local station to see in between the headrests and between mom. She has no idea what's going on. Screaming at him. He's not. Nothing. But he puts his tongue in his cheek, like he's prepared for something. I don't know. I mean, his mannerisms of who he is. And who he is all I know when I'm talking to him. But yeah, it's...
Very street fucked up.
The ACM, driving, everything is consistent. I played the videotape and I went, that's verbatim. The steering input, you can tell like body gestures, braking, and acceleration, he wasn't speeding. And the witnesses that were behind him says he's driving normal. And all of a sudden, left-hand lane into the oncoming right.
The exterior dash cam video, does it show what he's looking at?
It shows everything second prior to the actual collision. So there's, I would say there's a good hour of them at an apartment complex, DoorDash going to 7-Eleven, and then them arguing about something in the car. I read our reports. So
She's getting a little.
Return beach traffic, thank you. Thank you. Take care. Nice to meet you, sir. Appreciate it. Take care of yourself. Thank you.
Now, the police department claimed that there is no audio in this dash camera. But the discovery, that they claim that there is no audio in this dash camera, and they're hiring a lip reader to find out what they're saying inside the vehicle. But here you have the main investigator, Investigator Robert Drum, talk about, you can hear them talking about courts. You can hear them talking about courts. So you have the audio to this dash camera. You can see them door dashing. Now, this dash camera, if you go far enough, the day before and the day before, you'll see that Mustafa's door dashing with Dorothy. You'll see the rest of the dash camera. Why is the rest of the dash camera not in the discovery? Is it because it shows that Mustafa has a beautiful relationship with Dorothy when he's door dashing with her? They don't want to put that in there. But you can rest assured, prosecutor, that we're going to subpoena and make sure that that's on the record when we extract the audio out of the SD card. Now, in the discovery, Officer Zymus with the digital forensic out of Prince William County admit that there is audio, and the audio is on the SD cards. Prosecutor, you can rest assured that we're going to get the audio and put it on the record. I mean, you hear the main investigators say, you hear them talk about courts, but they want to get a lip reader? That's beautiful. They're gaslighting and lying about Mustafa, and they think the community is asleep. Well, they think that this body cams and this discovery wasn't going to get leaked out to the community. Now, your own defense attorney, Casey Stevens, we've been screaming for 2 years about Casey Stevens stealing our money and having a relationship with the investigator that lied, and here he is saying he appears to be a fucked up person. Your own defense attorney is saying you're a fucked up person? And is asking the investigator who he knows falsified the police report, what happened in this dash camera? Tell us what you've seen. What? Now, Investigator Robert Drum says that on dash camera you can see that Mustafa is sticking out his tongue. In panic. Mustafa has a very distinctive feature. Growing up with Mustafa, I remember when we're playing video games or whatever, whenever Mustafa panics, he sticks out his tongue in his cheek. As a matter of fact, we have a Google Nest inside the apartment where Mustafa is fixing something on the shelf and it's not getting fixed. Sticking out his tongue out of his cheeks. Now, this investigator sees that Mustafa is in a panic mode. This investigator on the body cam says he did everything he can to avoid a vehicle accident. I mean, should we watch that again? Do we have a memory of a fish that we can't remember what we just watched 10 minutes ago? Investigator Drum says all these are his skid marks. Him and Chad Mason, all these are his skid marks. Mustafa clears the vehicle, and the only way that this vehicle accident happened if the SUV turned into him and T-boned him. But you won't find that on the police report. As a matter of fact, when this investigator takes a stand, he said Mustafa did not have any skid marks and lie about the whole thing, thinking that his body cams wasn't going to come out. Well, unfortunately for you, sir, they're not just being leaked out on the internet. they're going to be introduced on the record in front of Judge Carol Weimer. And Judge, in light of the body cams and discovery being leaked, you can no longer be impartial, because I promise you, you're going to end up in federal prison. As a matter of fact, the DOJ and the FBI are already investigating this county, and they're finding out what kind of malarkey have this judge been involved in for the past 2 years. I love the word malarkey. It's an interesting word to use in a conversation when we're talking about the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. Now, we hear Investigator Drum talk about that this dash camera every 60 seconds record a file, a video file, into the SD card. Well, let's talk about that for 2 seconds. Because when we access, this dash camera is, you see that it's cut before impact. When you ask the police department, they say that's all we have. Now, that's interesting. Every 1 minute is saved into the SD card as one file by itself. And before impact, there is only 8 seconds saved into a file by itself. And the police department says, that's all we have. Now, this dash camera is clearly cut before impact. Now, how do you it doesn't take we don't have to sit here and recreate the wheel. It's cut before impact. Someone cut this dash camera. Someone inside this police department cut this dash camera. Now, this police department is so incompetent that when they edit this dash camera, they fail to cut it by frame. What am I talking about? Now, when you're on evidence.com and you see these files, 8 seconds is there. And when you take those 8 seconds, there is an outside view and there is an inside view to this dash camera. Let's put that on the screen. So this is the outside view. This is the inside view. Now, when you put it through an application that counts frames, you find out that there are missing frames. That the inside of the vehicle is at 8.0 versus the outside of the vehicle is at 8.3 frame. 8.3, 8.0. There is no way that you have a dash camera that's the outside and the inside is not coordinated, because this dash camera is a Rexon dash camera. It operates off the same computer inside this dash camera. If it were to stop, it would stop on the frame. It wouldn't stop on the second. This police department is so incompetent that when they cut it at 8 seconds, they did not cut it by frame. Let's watch what I'm talking about. Now you'll see that this dash camera Five 5.2, 5.4, 7.2, keep going, 8. It stops. It cuts. The inside of the vehicle cuts, but the outside is rolling. 8.1, 8.2, 8.3. Let's go back. 8.2, 8.1, 8.0. The inside turns on. Is anybody following what I'm talking about here? There is no way that this dash camera cuts at different frames if the camera stopped on its own. Someone manually cut this camera. Now, they air it out on NBC4, and they say that Dorothy is having a reaction and Mustafa having little reaction. You cut the dash camera. You see that Mustafa is reacting. He's driving the vehicle. He's steering the vehicle. He sees that he took the wrong lane. He's attempting to gain control of this vehicle that has a mechanical failure, according to the police department itself. And what does the police department do? They cut it. They cut it right before anybody sees a full, complete reaction from Mustafa. But this police department is incompetent. They didn't cut it before Mustafa sticks out his tongue in his cheeks. That Mustafa is panicking. That now they're worried. They're like, wait a minute. We didn't catch that when we cut it. We didn't cut it by frame. This shows that someone in the police department manually cut this dash camera. Stops here. 8.1. Where is the frames inside the vehicle when the outside frame is rolling? 8.1, 8.2, 8.3. I mean, are we beating a dead horse here? Does it really take a rocket scientist to know that this police department is engaged in police misconduct? Cutting, editing, muting the dash camera? Well, unfortunately for them, we have the discovery, we have the body cam, and we have documents that show what they're doing. Officer Zymus with digital forensic inside the police department admit that this dash camera does in fact have audio. Let's continue watching the dash camera. The details matter. The details are terrifying for this prosecutor. He wasn't counting on this dash camera getting released out to the community, and we get to take a deep dive into the details. Here, Dorothy is still waiting for Mustafa. Mustafa is still inside 7-Eleven. And what you have here, he's pulling up a coupon. The guy behind the counter is not using it, so he has to, I guess, pull it up from the original email or whatever. And you see that he's attempting to use a coupon to save $2 off his pack of cigarette. Can you guys see it? Can everybody see it? There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let's zoom in. There we go. There we go. There we go. For a guy that wants to crash the vehicle on purpose, he's trying to save $2 off a pack of cigarette. Okay. And here you see Mustafa. Okay, you see Mustafa getting back to the vehicle. Okay, we're going to pull up the CCTV from the outside of the vehicle. Okay. The CCTV from 7-Eleven that shows Mustafa outside the vehicle. All right, there we go. There we go. There we go. All right, so this is Mustafa. All right. Fast forward. Okay. There we go. All right, so Mustafa gets back to the vehicle. Here, Mustafa gets back to the vehicle. Okay, you see him walking back to the vehicle from 7-Eleven. See, hang on. Okay, that's Mustafa walking back from 7-Eleven back to the vehicle. And that's Mustafa walking back to the vehicle from 7-Eleven. Okay? All right. The details matter. So what does Mustafa do when he gets back to the vehicle from 7-Eleven? You'll see him pumping gas. You see him, he just entered the vehicle. He gave 5-year-old Empress a piece of candy. He just bought her candy. And the prosecutor says, that guy crashed the vehicle on purpose. The guy that's buying 5-year-old Empress a piece of candy. Let's see, what are we watching here? There we go. Okay. There we go. You see the relationship that Mustafa has with 5-year-old Empress. It's a beautiful relationship where she's turned the speaker, the giant speaker in the back. She knows how to turn it on for him. She's coordinated with him. And I mean, if that 5-year-old baby did not love Mustafa, she wouldn't entertain turning on the speaker for him. I mean, the prosecutor is claiming that that guy is arguing with her mom. And you want to tell me that a 5-year-old baby is not going to pick up on it? He's buying her candy. You're going to see him wash her hand before she even eats the piece of candy. I got one of the comments on the internet. I got one of the comments, and it's so disgusting to insinuate that this is not a beautiful relationship. They're like, oh, he's washing her hand because he doesn't want his car to get dirty. He's washing her hand before she eats the piece of candy. He's washing her hands, and then he goes and get her napkins. That's how much he cares about 5-year-old Empress. That's how much Empress cares about Mustafa, that she's sitting there turning on the speaker for him. I mean, if he was arguing with her mom, you think she would entertain anything? You think she would take that candy from him? You think she would turn on the speaker? This shows that Mustafa had a beautiful relationship with Dorothy and with 5-year-old Empress. And you want to tell me that that guy crashed the vehicle on purpose? You see him here on the outside. He's washing the car. You see him here. He's washing Empress's hands. He has a water bottle, and he's washing her hands. Let me coordinate the dash camera with the outside. There we go. Okay, it's coordinated. Okay, you see him washing 5-year-old Empress's hands, and you see him on the outside, and then he goes and get napkins to dry 5-year-old Empress's hands. You want to tell me that guy doesn't care about Empress? Okay, so he gets napkins. He's cleaning his car. There's a lot of pollen. You notice that he's not only washing the windows, he's using the squeegee to wash the car too. There's a lot of pollen, and he's attempting to get the pollen off his vehicle. I found a comment on there on TikTok. It's like, a squeegee? He's using a squeegee to clean his car? Well, I'm sorry, princess, that it doesn't fit your criteria in washing the car. Poor guy is he cares about his car. The fact that he cares about his car and the prosecutor is saying that he's crashing his car on purpose contradicts what's happening on the body cam. There's a lot of pollen on the car, and he's just washing away. He's washing the top of the vehicle, removing the pollen off that vehicle, washing the windows, washing the hood, washing the back of the vehicle. You want to tell me that guy, 5 minutes later, crashed the vehicle on purpose? That's interesting. Now, we have an expert witness that weighed in on the whole entire thing. An expert witness that watched this dash camera, that read every piece of discovery in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, and is weighing in on the whole entire case. Let's read what the expert witness says. I can turn this sideways. There we go. There we go. All right. Now we have an expert witness that says, in my expert opinion, that Mr. Al-Jazari action and reactions, specifically including, but not limited to, his decision to steer his vehicle to the left into opposite traffic when he was in an intersection with his car lane ending, his facial expression and reaction immediately before the crash, his failure to forcibly depressed the brake pedal in his vehicle, and his failure to recall details after the crash are all completely consistent with a lay individual trying but failing to avoid a dangerous situation by freezing or shutting down, and the subsequent psychological response to a traumatic event. More specifically, Mr. Al-Jadari action and reaction time before the crash are completely consistent with an individual reacting are completely inconsistent with an individual reacting to a dangerous and traumatic situation while trying to avoid harm, as it is incredibly common for individuals to freeze and fail to respond optimally when faced with a dangerous and traumatic event, specifically in quickly changing and life-threatening circumstances. It is also incredibly common for individuals to have a dissociative response in the case of a traumatic event and does not remember all details of a traumatic event after they occur. Now, this is an expert witness that weighed in on the whole entire Mustafa Al-Jazari case after watching the dash camera. And it's telling us that this is a vehicle accident. For a prosecutor that screams Mustafa is guilty, why is the prosecutor terrified that we're watching this dash camera? Why is this prosecutor terrified that we're watching the details? You have an investigator that falsified all the police report. You have body cams that are sealed. You have individuals that are trolling the conversations. Mustafa was helicoptered to the hospital. Mustafa was in a coma. And there is a toxicology report to what they're smoking here. There's no alcohol. Mustafa's toxicology report, Dorothy's toxicology report, no alcohol and no drugs. This is hemp. Dorothy has cancer, and this helps with the pain. Why is the prosecutor terrified that we get to watch this dash camera? It's on dash camera. This is a vehicle accident. We have proof that the police department cut and mute the audio. You see that Mustafa is... Where is this argument that they're talking about? They want to tell us that there is a heated argument. There was a heated argument. Mustafa, Dorsey was crying. Mustafa crashed the vehicle on purpose. Where is this argument? Oh, wait a minute. The dash camera is sealed by the government because the prosecutor does not want the community to watch this dash camera. Oh, they cut this dash camera. The dash camera is cut before impact. Oh, that's convenient for this prosecutor. Oh, there is no audio. You want to tell us that you're getting a lip reader when in fact there is a document that show Officer Zymus with Prince William County Digital Forensic says the audio is on the SD card. For a prosecutor that's terrified, for a prosecutor that screams Mustafa is guilty, why are you terrified that this audio is going to be on the record? Why are you terrified and blocking every effort that Mustafa is going to inspect this vehicle that your police mechanic is admitting on his own body cam that the vehicle had mechanical failure? And not just mechanical failure, vehicle failure. There's a giant difference between mechanical failure and vehicle failure. The drive shaft disconnected from the engine. Now, These are pictures, and we're going to be releasing more pictures where bolts were missing off this transmission. Um, um, this is the drive shaft disconnecting from the engine, which explains that the vehicle was revving up when Mustafa's foot was only on the brake. He was hitting the brake. His foot showed that he's on the brake, not on the gas, but the RPM is shooting up really high. Now, the prosecutor tells us that, oh, this is because of the tow truck, and we put it on a tow truck. That's why the drive shaft disconnected. Well, ma'am, this vehicle is a two-wheel drive vehicle. This is not a four-wheel drive vehicle. So even if you were to put it on a tow truck and pull it, there is no way that the drive shaft would disconnect from the engine. Now, there is no way that this drive shaft disconnected because of the impact of the accident, because the frame is not bent. You see how the hollow space all around the drive shaft? It's not squished. There is no way. If it was squished in, you would say because of the impact, that drive shaft disconnected. The drive shaft, the hollow area around the drive shaft is not squished. The frame is intact. Now, the question is, what happened to Mustafa's vehicle? 100% there is mechanical failure, there is brake failure, there is transmission failure, there is vehicle malfunction. The police mechanics are admitting it. That Mustafa, the computer inside the vehicle showed that Mustafa hit the brake, is attempting to stop the vehicle. All these are his skid marks. The vehicle went from 55 to 35, but didn't come to a complete stop. The transmission, drive shaft disconnected. Their caliper did not engage the back passenger caliper, the front passenger caliper. Only the calipers on the driver and the back driver worked. What happened to Mustafa's vehicle? Who tampered with Mustafa's vehicle? I mean, this vehicle just came out of a shop, and we have a dash camera that we just took a deep dive into that shows it's a vehicle accident. Mustafa takes a lane and then finds out he was on the wrong lane, and then when he tries to get back into traffic, a vehicle on his right blocks him from going back. You have about 2 seconds to react. The lane ends, there is no brake, and you find yourself into oncoming traffic. And what did Mustafa do? He hit the brake, he avoided every vehicle to avoid a vehicle accident, and we have the investigator themselves say that Mustafa cleared all the vehicles, cleared the SUV, and the SUV T-boned Mustafa. That's not me saying it. That's what the investigator on their own body cam say. Now, an expert witness watched the dash camera, watched the discovery, watched every piece in this case, and say, based on the dash camera and based on every evidence that I went through, in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, this is a vehicle accident. We have a dash camera that's cut. Where is the argument in this vehicle? Prosecutor Sarah Sami, you told the community that Mustafa was in a heated argument with Dorothy, and he did this intentionally. Let's watch NBC4. Let's watch the news and what the news is telling us. I mean, they weren't expecting.
Devastating crash we first told you about last week. You might remember this one here. Police say a woman and a 5-year-old girl died in Prince William County after the car they were in crossed into oncoming traffic. All new tonight, police have charged the driver. They believe he crashed on purpose.
On purpose. When on their own body cam, they're saying this is a vehicle accident. That Mustafa, these are all his skid marks. Admitting that Mustafa hit the brake and these are all his skid marks. And that Mustafa cleared all the vehicle, made it to the other side, and the SUV turned into him. T-boned him. What did they say here? Investigators say he did it on purpose. Which one is it, sir? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, you thought the body cam was going to be sealed, so you get to say whatever you want on the news. Yes, ma'am. Let's see. Shelly, Tracy, hello, hello, hello. Stefano, Shirley, Bustos. I don't forget about you guys here. I'm just in my own world, just so talking away. If you guys have any question, just let me know, and you guys are part of the conversation. Bustos, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Bustos, I think your mic is, there you go.
I got it. So now that you were talking about the drive shaft is held on by 3 bolts.
Yeah.
Were those 3 bolts snapped on impact, meaning they were attached?
Yeah.
Due on impact, it snapped them and broke. So you would have half in one end and the other half of the thread in the other end. Was there the 3 bolts, and did they break in half?
So we're finding out that this shop, the shop that Mustafa, that the vehicle was worked on, they put a used transmission. And this transmission does not belong to that vehicle. And what they've done is they modified a connector. So the connector is modified, or it doesn't supposed to be on there. That's the details we're finding out. That there were bolts missing. Yeah.
But there still should be either one. There should be the 3 bolts on either side of the drive shaft. Those 3 bolts will hold it in. But my thing is, was there 3 bolts, or was there not, that they just slid it on there and kept it freely? You know what I mean?
Well,
because there's
yeah.
gears that they have to go into.
Yeah, so we have pictures of bolts missing. Now, we're gonna be posting those pictures later, and we're gonna go into the details of what is going on with this vehicle. There are details that we're finding out where the connector is the wrong connector. It's a modified connector. I know what you're asking, but we're gonna take a deep dive into the pictures that we have in the discovery. The prosecutor is telling the judge in court that because they put this vehicle on a tow truck, that's why the drive shaft disconnected from the engine. Now, there is no way, this is not an all-wheel drive vehicle, this is a two-wheel drive vehicle. When they towed it from the back and released any pressure on the vehicle. Now, there is no way you can tow this vehicle. There is no way that you can tow this vehicle, and because you towed it, you disconnected the drive shaft. There is just no way. This is not an all-wheel drive vehicle. This is a two-wheel drive vehicle. Now, this vehicle does not have, the frame is intact. If you look at the drive shaft, it's not squished in. This picture that I have pulled on the screen, you see the hollow area around that drive shaft? There is no way that this drive shaft disconnected because of the vehicle accident. If it was squished in, then yes. Now, Mustafa hits the brake, and you have vehicle failure. The drive shaft disconnected from the engine. Now, this explains the computer inside the vehicle. Now, the computer inside the vehicle is telling us that Mustafa his foot is on the brake and only on the brake, not on the gas, only on the brake. But the RPM is shooting up really high. Now, the only way you can have the RPM shoot up really high when your foot is on the brake is when the drive shaft disconnects. This drive shaft disconnected when Mustafa hit the brake. So you have two things. You have the drive shaft disconnecting, and you have the caliper. The caliper is not engaging. The back passenger caliper not engaged. The front passenger caliper did not engage. You have mechanical failure. Now,
I have another.
yes, ma'am.
Sorry. So on one of the pictures, it showed that the car was not towed by two of the tires. The car was lifted on one of the tow, those tow trailer, the ones that they pull it up with the cable and it sits
From the back, right?
on it.
From the back.
So it
It's towed from the back.
It wasn't towed by any of the tires that I remember. I remember seeing a picture of it sitting on top of a tow truck.
Yeah, it's. I think it was on a flatbed.
Yeah, exactly. So if that's the case, then they didn't have to mess with
Exactly.
with the drive shaft.
Exactly.
They should have had no reason, even for that little short pull from the road to the top of the tow truck. They would have had no reason to
Exactly.
disconnect.
See, this is the problem that we have with the prosecutor. The prosecutor is throwing this in there, and what she says doesn't even make sense. I mean, that vehicle, when you look at it, when you look at the picture, it's on a flatbed. When you read the discovery, it shows that a police officer, that Chad Mason, followed this vehicle all the way to the police mechanic impound, like the parking lot, the police parking lot. So it was towed directly to the police department. They have a parking lot where they store all the vehicle. That this vehicle was wrapped to make sure that it's secured. So, what is she talking about? Oh, we towed it the wrong way. I mean, they're terrified. I'll tell you, Bustos. They're terrified that Mustafa is going to hire an independent expert to inspect this vehicle in details. Now, we had Casey Stevens, the lawyer that had a relationship with the investigator that lied, that took our money. Okay, we hired a crash investigator. That guy that was standing there is a crash investigator that we hired for $5,000. Now, what did they do? They put on a show for him. They refused for him to inspect the vehicle. They refused for him to inspect the SUV that T-boned Mustafa's vehicle. And specifically, Casey Stevens, our defense attorney, lied to us, and he said that the crash investigator is going to write a detailed report. Now, one, he didn't inspect the vehicle. Two, he didn't write a detailed report. And then when we talked to the crash independent expert, he says, Casey Stevens, your defense attorney told me not to write a detailed report. Not to write a report at all. And just tell me, like verbally. Your defense attorney does not want a report who's working with the investigator for the county. What are they terrified that we're going to find in this vehicle? I'll tell you what they're terrified. I mean, we're already watching it on body cam that the police are admitting that there is mechanical failure in the vehicle. When you watch the computer inside the vehicle, it explains what happened in this vehicle. That the RPM was shooting really high because that drive shaft disconnected. That Mustafa's brake did not work. Now, what is going on? Did someone tamper with the vehicle? Did the shop not put the right connector, the wrong transmission? We're investigating. We're attempting to get to the bottom of it. We're finding out that in the background to all this, there's a club owner that Dorothy's, at the time, 16-year-old. Now she's 18. Dorothy's daughter, who hides behind being a minor, apparently went to the ex-boyfriend soliciting to kill Mustafa. Apparently she has a relationship with Billy, a club owner that Mustafa almost ran out of business for 4 months. What is going on? Whatever is going on, we know that from the police mechanic himself, on a body cam that's sealed by the government, that this vehicle had mechanical failure, had vehicle failure. That Mustafa, from the investigator, from the police body cam itself, The investigators are saying that Mustafa did everything he can to avoid a vehicle accident. We have the discovery that shows all the police reports are falsified, body cams that are sealed, that show that this is a vehicle accident, dash camera that show this is a vehicle accident. There is no argument. And this is a beautiful segue. Charlotte, our beautiful private investigator, is tuning in our podcast. Charlotte, how are you, ma'am?
I'm exhausted, but I'm good. I just got off work.
Ma'am, I bet you are. You wear a lot of hats. Our beautiful, beautiful, beautiful future private investigator, who has a neck for being a private investigator, went deep undercover. She's a nurse, a beautiful nurse. Went deep undercover and had a conversation with the jealous ex-boyfriend, Glenn Ford. And boy, the things that she found out are mind-blowing. Charlotte, how are you, ma'am?
Doing all right, man. How are you? You're on live. Are you on YouTube or TikTok?
We are on YouTube. This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa through the police body cam. Judge Weimer under the microscope. Kylie Clapp. And what is Kylie Clapp not telling us? Charlotte, how are you, ma'am?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you guys? How is Mustafa? Is he in there?
He's hanging in there. He's hanging in there. He's hanging in there. We're doing our best. One day at a time. Yes, ma'am. You know, I've got Stefana, I've got Shirley, I've got Bustos, I've got Casey. They're on a group chat. Everybody else is on the live. So everybody's here.
Hey, everybody.
Everybody's waving at you in the background.
I don't think I've ever gone on YouTube Live.
Yeah.
I have to go look at it. I follow you on there.
I need to send you. I think there's an option on here where you can go live with somebody. I know how to do it. I just need to set it up with you one day, or simply either I'll go to you or you'll come here. But we need to have you on this podcast.
I would love to come be on the podcast.
We have.
We'll figure out a date. We'll make it work.
You know, I find it interesting that I find Glenn Ford, the jealous ex-boyfriend. I find Kylie, who's not a minor, who's 18-year-old today, on the same live with a person that claims she's not Amy Hotchkiss, with the same person, with the wife of the investigator that falsified the police report, Stephanie Claiborne, pretending to be Kay, on the same live, and they're all angry at me for what is on a recorded line that Glenn Ford is talking about. I find that so hilarious, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around, why are you mad at me when Glenn Ford is the one talking about what he's talking about?
You know, I think the best policy is to not even give them the attention that they so clearly need. They need it like
Oh, you know,
like an IV.
You know, I'll tell you, we're extending an invitation. We're going to have a podcast in front of the FBI building, in front of the DOJ. We're extending an invitation for them to physically show up. We're going to have a table, a couple of chairs on public property in front of the FBI building, and we extend an invitation for them to physically show up. We want Glenn Ford, the star witness, Kylie Clapp, who's not a minor, to physically show up and have a podcast with us. Tell us what is going on in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. I mean, you have Kylie Clapp talking about arguing with her mom about fucking the same guy, and you have Kylie Clapp soliciting.
This was out of Glenn Ford's mouth, you know, so.
This is directly out of his mouth.
I think that's something that should be taken up with him. You know me, I don't tell anybody else how to feel, and I cannot imagine having your niece, or as if I were your brother, your daughter, put out there. I think these people have been doing a lot to harass you guys over a long period of time, and it's unfortunate that they don't have anything better to do with their time.
They're posting
Me
my
personally,
4-year-old
like,
niece. They're
I
posting.
wanted.
They're
It felt like
posting.
there was more to the story, so
Yeah.
that's where the recording came from. As far as what is the daughter's name?
Kylie Clapp.
As far as Kylie goes, I choose to stay out of that one, but I will say that Glenn Ford is the one that was saying those things. But
I'll tell you. Yes,
I
ma'am.
can't imagine having to deal with that crowd every day for the past, I don't know how long. I think I would. Yeah. Thank you.
Kylie. Charlotte. I find it disturbing that a lot of people are trolling the conversation and are avoiding the giant elephant in the room. Now, the giant elephant in the room is the police department lied to Dorothy's kids, a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 14-year-old, lied to these kids and told them and painted Mustafa as a monster. Told them that Mustafa was on the run when Mustafa was in a helicopter and he's in a coma in the hospital. That Mustafa did this on purpose. That he ran away from the scene and left your 5-year-old baby sister.
I saw that, and it was sickening. I can't believe the manner in which the manner and the timing, and in which they, if you want to call that questioning them, I would say more like coercing them to say what they wanted them to say. But there's nothing when you're in a vulnerable state like that, especially as a minor, as a kid that just lost your mommy. You could see where they just planted that idea in that one child's head, and I don't know what to do about that other than to show a jury that this is what they did, because I'm sure that whatever feelings they have now are very valid to them because they've been convinced that this is what happened. And I don't, in my opinion, and watching what you've shown, I don't think that this child felt that way until those ideas were put in his head.
Charlotte, I have the Google Nest inside the apartment that Jaden and the kids love Mustafa. Mustafa loved the kids. Now, I find it disturbing, and I find it really sad that you see when you watch the forensic interview, you see Jaden, 14-year-old Jaden, is beating himself up. He says, the guy that I trusted. The guy that I trusted. He's beating himself up for trusting Mustafa. That means that Jaden trusted Mustafa before the police made contact with him.
That's what the adults that were responsible were there at the time, and that's what they encouraged this too, and they planted these. It looks to me, from what I could see, that they very much manipulated the children, and I feel bad for them. I hope that they. I hope that they are okay, and I hope that they grow up and are able to hopefully one day get therapy. And I'm sorry for their loss for their mom and for Mustafa, whether they or not they realize that now, and their sister. But it's really sick to me that, God, I just keep thinking about that one video where they're questioning the kid. And they're telling him that Mustafa had done something, and he said, "I knew it." My mom kept trying to get everybody my mom dates is bad, and I thought that he was good. And why would you think that if you hadn't seen good?
Charlotte, he says, Mom always told me to trust Mustafa. That gives you insight that the mom told the kids to trust Mustafa, that she loved Mustafa, that the kids loved Mustafa.
It also tells me because he said something else about, and he said I shouldn't have, which tells me he had no reason not to trust him until he was told a falsity about Mustafa having done something that he didn't do. So, he has someone in a position of authority, government, telling him that Mustafa did this, and that at that moment he says, I never should have trusted him. Well, he wouldn't have trusted him if he was so horrible.
Exactly. Unfortunately for this prosecutor, unfortunately for this police department, the Google Nests are coming out. They're terrified that the Google Nests are going to be on the record. They're terrified. There is a Google Nest that shows that Mustafa loved the kids, that the kids love Mustafa. There was a beautiful relationship inside the house with Mustafa, Dorothy, and the kids. Now, the prosecutor is terrified, but unfortunately for her, the community is watching these Google Nests come out. Now, I find it disturbing that you have trolls in the community that are avoiding the giant elephant in the room, and they're not calling out the police department for traumatizing the kids. Is this not child abuse to paint the only person that they trusted into a monster? I mean, this could be anybody's kids. Why are we not addressing the giant elephant in the room? Instead, they want to talk about me leaking out the forensic interview. Look at what the police department did. Look at the police department, how they traumatized the kid. They lied to the kids about the only person in their life that they trusted. Painted a monster, painted Mustafa as a monster. Took those kids after lying to them, putting them in a forensic room, recording them, and now they want to drag them into the court system after lying to them. Is that not child abuse? But I don't see those trolls talking about that.
I think what the police and the people, the counselors, whoever they were, I think what they did to those children was awful. I really can't say much more than that. It made me cry. It was disgusting to watch. They didn't care about their well-being at all. They only cared about the fact that they were prime, emotionally, and ready to manipulate them.
You know, unfortunately for this process, yes, ma'am.
And as far as which I usually probably wouldn't speak on this, but I'll say one thing about Kylie. I only know about her things from my conversation with Glenn, and it sounded to me like she was also a victim of some sort of issues with her mom or her dad. I don't know. I'm not gonna speculate, or maybe what Glenn told me isn't true, but. I also hope she gets any help that she may need, if she does need any. I don't know. She might not. But,
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Like you had mentioned, maybe she felt, or somebody had said somewhere that she felt that her mom didn't accept her there because of Mustafa. And, as a child, whether or not that was really factual or there was more to it, that was her reality. And I'm sorry that she didn't get more time with her mom to mend that relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think one day I'm hopeful. I'd like to hopefully see the glass half full. I'm hopeful that Mustafa's definitely going to get off on these charges. I mean, they're really just keeping him there for...
Oh, Mustafa's coming home, 100%. I'll tell you...
There's no doubt in my mind.
I'll tell you...
And it might take an appeal. It just depends on if the judge is crooked. I don't know if you guys are doing a jury trial. I'm not sure.
It is a jury trial, yes, ma'am.
It might take an appeal, but there's no way that this would go anywhere.
Oh, I promise you, with all the leaked material that we have, with the DOJ and the FBI investigating this county for what they've done, I promise you that we're going to get justice for Mustafa, and Mustafa's coming home. Now, I'll tell you, we're only asking questions. Now, we have a Kylie Clapp, who is 18 years old. Now, that girl, according to the ex-boyfriend, solicited Mustafa to be killed and make it look like an accident. Now, we're only asking questions. This is a sensitive topic. But when someone...
I would like to hear Glenn Ford speak on that, and whether or not that was a lie, or why would he say that if it wasn't true, and what was the deal with that, instead of just pointing fingers. I mean, it's a valid question to ask as someone who is the brother of someone who is locked up for murder of the same person, of his girlfriend, when the ex-boyfriend is claiming these things happen.
Now,
and I don't understand why that group, if they really care about Kylie so much, and her being a minor, why are they okay in being friendly with somebody who was actually the one saying those things?
I have no idea. It doesn't make sense.
Do they think that
he's talking shit about the mother? He's talking shit about the daughter? He's talking shit about everybody? Like, and you sit there and pretend he didn't say anything?
I literally said they can't be that bad, because I have a sensitive thing when it comes to kids, and it bothered me that he was saying these kids were so horrible.
Yeah.
And I don't even know that.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on, it couldn't have been that bad, really? And, you know,
Now, I'll tell you.
To me, it tells me everything I need to know about this group of people that, whatever you call them, these group of people that have nothing better to do with their time. They claim to have morals and they claim to care about things, but their actions do not align with the things that they're saying.
They're posting my 40-year-old niece picture all over the internet. They're posting Casey's kids all over the internet. They're posting, I think, your pictures, kids' pictures on the. I don't know. Everybody that seems to speak on Mustafa's behalf,
Yeah,
they're
so
posting the
when it comes
pictures.
to me, I'm not fazed by these people. I don't think about them. I have too many things going on in my life. I pulled an M&M, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to expose you." I went and let them know there's only one thing in my life that I think other people may judge, and it doesn't bother me. I'm not ashamed. I'm not embarrassed. They're also incorrectly quoting this thing, but I told them, I said,
Charlotte, you're talking to a barefooted monkey, so no, don't be embarrassed about anything.
I love that they're very.
And I've earned that title.
You're using the term. You're intentionally using the term now just to fucking get a rise out of them. But do they not remember when you were calling yourself that? Because I do.
To call someone a racist for calling Glenn Ford a monkey, coming out of a guy that walks around calling himself a barefooted monkey, I find it interesting and disturbing because I find this individual only attempting to run away from the conversation. Now, I'll tell you, Charlotte, he's sitting on a live. Now,
I don't know which one of them it was, but didn't one of them say the N word, and then they're all just cool with
the main person that Christine Alcazai, aka Amy Hotchkins, who we find here on a body cam, says the N-word openly. Let me play that clip for you. Now, he sits on her live, and he wants to call me a racist? What is going on here? Let me play that audio for you. And Charlotte, you tell me, what the fuck are we watching here?
I've heard it. It's pretty undeniable.
It's clear.
It gives me a real narcissist vibe the way she immediately denied it.
Oh yeah. They're I find it very interesting. The minute you play anything for them, they're like, oh, that's not me. I find Glenn Ford is going to be in for a roller coaster when he finds the CCTV video from MGM when he was sitting down with you at the MGM play out in court. Now, that is going to be a world of roller coaster.
Someone messaged me and said that they got me banned from the casino. I was like,
that is funny. I mean, that is funny. That's hilarious.
I'm fine. Like.
Okay, Charlotte.
I don't even live there.
Listen to this.
Are you speaking?
Listen to this.
No, I'm not being smart, nigger. Listen, I'm just asking you a question.
What'd you say?
Are you speaking on recidivism?
What did you just say? Can you repeat yourself?
Wait, hold on. What did you just say?
What did you just say?
Because it sounded like you said the N word.
Right, and you did?
You did?
No. Something. Are you speaking? No, I'm not being smart, nigger. Listen, I'm just asking you a question.
This is wild. Glenn Ford sits on her live. Come on now. Glenn Ford sits on that lady's live and pretend that I'm racist for calling him a monkey, coming from a guy that walks around calling himself a barefooted monkey. Are you kidding me here? And you want to tell me he's not running away from the conversation? I mean, what's really going on here? He's running away from the conversation. 18-year-old Kylie is hiding behind, I'm a minor. Don't worry about me soliciting to get Mustafa killed. What's going on here? We're only having attempting to have a conversation.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, the only person I would like to hear from about that immediately, it would be Glenn, and then move on from there. But, I support you in everything that you have going on. I would do anything.
God bless you, ma'am.
I believe 100% that Mustafa is innocent. But there are some places that we may have some differing of opinion, and that's okay, because that's what it's great about America, is that we're all allowed to have and voice our own opinion.
Ma'am, God bless you for being there. God bless you for doing what you do. You have a I mean, your reputation precedes you with doing what you do. You're fighting corruption in your own county. You're on the news. You're a big deal on the on social media, and it's thank you for being part of the conversation and doing what you do. I mean, to go deep undercover and have a conversation with the star witness, and on that audio, we find out that what we're finding out is disturbing, and we can only keep you in our prayers. And thank you for being part of what is going on here.
Hey, you guys stay in my prayers. I know. I'm familiar with the state that it puts you in, to be under constant harassment from many sides, whether it be the police, whether it be just the complete disbelief that nobody seems to care in our government about the things that they should care about and they claim to care about. Then you have these group of people that they need this to get high in life. Like, this is how they survive, is by trying to taunt you. And when you have all of that happening at once, and you're also under the stress of relentlessly trying to help the people in your community see what's going on behind closed doors, and to help the people, not just Mustafa, but other people that were in the jail, other people that had been arrested. I know what it's like to be targeted for these things, and it's almost it almost can put you in a just constant fight or flight, And I hope for you guys that it gets to end soon. And I know that Mustafa is going to get out, because you guys deserve to start healing, and you can't do that right now.
Man, God bless you. It's a lot. Whatever is happening is a lot, and what they're doing is a lot. They're going after. I mean,
and then just when you think it can't get any worse, it does.
I mean, right now, what do we have right now? We have the lawyer that was representing Mustafa in his civil lawsuit against the jail is now hiring another lawyer to sue her paralegal, me. I mean, and she's only doing the bidding of Prince William County, and I'll tell her, and I'll tell this county that's attempting to, and instead of looking into the content of what we're talking about, they're attempting to silence me from talking about what's going on behind closed doors. Now, I'll tell them, unfortunately for them, I got trained as a paralegal. I know how to write my own motions, and I know how to stand in court and introduce exhibits to what they're doing behind closed doors. And Elaine Jarvis and the like of Elaine Jarvis, I promise them they're not going to win. We have the Lord himself on our side. And one thing they don't have is God himself. We have God on our side. And if you haven't woken up and realized what has happened, it's a miracle that we have the body cams, the discovery, that's sealed by the government. We have, it's a miracle. I mean, it's been a miracle since day one. It's a tragic vehicle accident. Mustafa is alive. In a tragic vehicle accident, Mustafa is alive. Mustafa gets beaten up inside the jail. Mustafa is alive.
I try to be a reasonable person, and I've seen plenty of cases where someone unintentionally has a car accident and they get charged with manslaughter. I think that's something that is, whether right or wrong, I disagree with it, but it happens a lot. But fucking murder one, are these people crazy?
I'll tell you, the prosecutor tried to charge Mustafa with manslaughter in the beginning. Now, to charge someone with manslaughter, there has to be negligence on his side. Now, he's not speeding. His blood toxicology reports show no alcohol, no drugs. He's not. Yeah.
Negligence is probably a lot easier to convince maybe people that are uneducated of the law about the law on a jury.
Yeah.
It's just who's going to do the negotiating matter. But my thing is, they need to prove intent.
Murder.
And I don't see, they cannot do that.
They're charging him.
They can do that.
They're charging him with murder, premeditated murder. Specifically, they're saying, Charlotte. Yes, ma'am.
I do not agree that he should be charged charged with manslaughter. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that is something that commonly happens. But what's uncommon and what is asinine and what is just so unbelievable to me is that they're grasping at straws to create evidence where there wasn't any and to mold the public's view before they're able to see the evidence without being told what it shows. I mean, that is a very often used tactic by the police department and the government is to, in order to get people on board with their side, before they show you something, they'll tell you what it is you're going to see. And so psychologically, you've already been manipulated to be prepared to see what it is they tell you you're going to see. I don't see how anybody watched that video and saw people arguing. What the fuck? They're not even saying anything.
Charlotte, I'll tell you, for a prosecutor that's screaming Mustafa is guilty, she's terrified to show this dash camera to the community. Now, she shows a deformed version of this dash camera, 4 seconds. She cuts and put together a 4-second clip from the dash camera, and she says this is what happened inside the vehicle. Now, why is she terrified to release this dash camera to the community? If it wasn't for a police officer out of Prince William County putting it on a flash drive, along with the discovery.
What's the name of this so-called lip reader?
There is no lip reader. Inside the court, what she actually said.
Does anybody know their name?
No, Charlotte, there is no lip reader. Inside the court, what she actually said, she said, if I get a lip reader, the lip reader is going to say, Empress, Dorothy saying Empress is in the vehicle. Now, if and getting a lip reader are two different things. NBC Ford lied to the community. I have the recording inside the proceeding, by the way. Someone supplied me with the recording. I was in there.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm gonna release the audio.
I'd be interested to see what an unbiased, not aware of the situation, not being paid by you or them, just not. This would be difficult to do, but so I'd be interested to take this to 3 people who are, I don't know if there's such thing as a professional lip reader, because I've seen them on TikTok. Some of these people that claim to be one, and they're very clear about the fact that this is not a science, that what they see, it might not be actually what they're saying. I mean, people's mouths moving, you're just assuming.
Well, Charlotte,
3 different people and see what they all say.
Charlotte, I'll tell you, why would we talk about a lip reader if Officer Zymus with Prince William County admit in a discovery saying that the audio is on the SD card, and we have a body cam from Investigator Drum admit when he's talking to the prosecutor and Casey Stephen on a body cam say that he heard Dorothy and Mustafa talk about court. This dash camera has audio. The police department is concealing it and it's on the SD card. Now we have the discovery. Officer Zymus with digital forensic admit that the dash camera has audio and the audio is on the SD cards.
I am this is a kind of a conspiracy theory, but I think that in general, the population in America has been groomed to not be able to think for themselves. There's not a lot of critical thinking going on with.
That's what they're betting on. That's what this prosecutor is betting on. 100%. That's what the prosecutor is betting on.
And like for example, where I live, there is, and I've talked about it on my social media. There's a nursing home where all these healthcare workers were arrested.
Yeah.
More recently in the news, a different case, not involving the same case that all the healthcare workers were arrested previously for, but the same facility, different patient, more recent. The news just said a doctor was arrested, right?
Yeah.
To me, I look at these things and I say to myself, I want to see the evidence, because I feel like that's what an intelligent person who can think for themselves.
Hey, Charlotte, really quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you turn on your FaceTime? Because we're live. Do you have FaceTime, right? Can I turn on the FaceTime?
Yeah.
I want everybody to see how beautiful Charlotte is and who's actually joining the conversation.
Let me put my camera on.
Hello. Hey. Charlotte, I am so happy that you're here. Let me see if I can put this on there. Let's see.
Don't mind the look of exhaustion on my face. I've been at work since.
Oh, you are good to go. Okay, I'm gonna have it like this. Hang on.
It,
Let me see if I
I
can.
don't know why it still shocks me.
Oh, this is
when-
beautiful. Oh man, this is beautiful. Okay,
when
there we go.
people, like, do
Yeah.
people not all think
I'm.
or realize
Yeah.
that politicians almost always have, some underlying agenda, and that politicians shouldn't just be trusted, and also, so when you got politicians, you got prosecutors and politicians. These people, like the Commonwealth Attorney, that's an elected position. Um, the police, like, since when did we just blindly trust the things the police told us?
That's what they're hoping here. They
Whenever
put out a
police are
narrative.
telling you what happened without showing you the evidence, you should we should never believe anything anyone blindly tells you. You should, no matter whether it's you, whether it's them, I would always want to see the evidence. But why would anyone just blindly trust the police of all people when they're not showing you the evidence that they claim they have? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it.
Exactly. Now, the conversation that we're having is that when we're saying something about in the Mustafa Al Jazari case, or in any case that we talk about, we have proof. We have a document, we have an audio, we have a body cam, we have a video. This is the conversation that we hope that we're having. Now, the prosecutor seems to allege a whole lot of things to the community through the media, and the community is just going along with it. It's been 2 years. Okay? It's been 2 years. Is this community awake to the reality that we have a Commonwealth attorney that every time there is police misconduct, what they do, they go to a judge and they seal off body cams and discovery, and they just put out a narrative. Now, don't take my word for it. Forget the Mustafa Al Jazari case. Let's talk about Tatiana David. Tatiana David. Charlotte, you're very familiar. We had a lot of conversation about Tatiana David. As a matter of fact, you're the one that introduced me to the brother.
Yes, a friend of mine had interviewed him for a story on locally here, a reporter friend of mine, and I asked him if he had his contact info, because I was trying to help get him represented. Yep, so I reached out to him and I put you guys in touch.
Now, Tatiana David is an abductee by her boyfriend out of Ithaca, New York.
She's from Chesterfield, where I live.
Oh, okay.
Or he lived here, I'm sorry, wrong way.
Yes, ma'am.
She lived in New York, right?
Ithaca, yes, ma'am. Ithaca.
Chesterfield.
Yes, ma'am. Ithaca, New York. She's abducted. He took her out of Ithaca, New York. I mean, this is the story. This is what they're alleging happened. Now, that's what they're alleging. Well, I have a body cam that's sealed by the government that the police department is refusing to address. And when they do address it, they say that we're only assisting other agencies. When on body cam, you see them that they're dragging a black girl out of a vehicle with 50 bullet holes from an AR-15. Her whole body is riddled with bullets that they roll her around like a pretzel, and they drag her and reposition her somewhere else, and they claim that we found her outside the vehicle. They say that the driver, her boyfriend, came at the police, was outside the vehicle, went on body cam, in fact, that we see them drag him out of the vehicle. Now,
I believe it was the New York State Police said that the Virginia State Police had found her outside of the vehicle, right?
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But that clearly isn't what happened.
I mean, this is the body cam. I mean, where is their
What
accountability?
gets me the most is the fact that they definitely said themselves in their own statement that it is unclear. It's unclear who shot her or who delivered the. I think it's very clear.
It's very clear. You can see from the bullet holes that it's an AR-15 caliber.
The car looked like they just went to town on it.
This is the body cam where Tatiana David is being dragged out of the vehicle by Prince William County Police with her body riddled with AR-15 bullet holes. The vehicle, the backseat, is riddled with AR-15 bullet holes. Now, this body cam was on the internet, on YouTube, social media, and our beautiful, beautiful Shelly, an individual that's been here with us for a long time, put it in a group chat, one of the group chats, and the police department issued out a statement. And the statement that they issued.
Statement, and I asked you where did that statement come from, and what you sent me something, but I was busy and I couldn't figure out. So where was this? Where
They
was this posted? Where they commented?
let me see if I can get Shelly on the line, and Shelly is going to give us more details about that statement. The statement itself is more disturbing uh, than the body cam that we're watching.
People from Prince William County Jail reaching out to me, right?
No, I want to read.
They are,
Yeah.
they're fed up. This.
I mean, accountability is everything. I mean, all we're asking is for some accountability. I mean, the statement that's coming out of Prince William County Police Department after this body cam, which is sealed by the government, is sealed by the county. There's a state level, there's a federal level. They sealed it from the federal level, the DOJ, the FBI, that they're saying that they're investigating themselves. They went to a judge, and it seems to be the same practice that they're doing for Mustafa Al-Jazari. Anytime you have police misconduct, you go to a judge and you seal it so the community cannot see what's on body cam, and you only take their word for it. I mean, for God's sake, it's been 2 years. What are they investigating? It takes me 5 minutes to find out that state police, Prince William County, shot this girl, killed this girl, repositioned her body, and pretended they found her outside the vehicle. Now, it's a common practice that they seal off body cam, and it goes back to what you were talking about, Charlotte, earlier.
I just realized
Yes, ma'am.
These wackos that stalk your page.
Yeah.
They're trying so hard. They think they want to get me fired or report me to the board of nursing. I bet you right now they're talking amongst themselves, thinking they know where I work because of this shirt.
Well, what I find disturbing is on their live, they have an individual that go by the name of Kate0707, who her voice is on one of the police body cam. And she's the wife of the investigator that falsified the police report, Investigator Trump. Stephanie Claiborne is on a body cam in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, who used to be a Prince William County dispatcher, who at the time when she's on the body cam on three-way with the investigator.
It's all making me dizzy trying to put the pieces together.
It's wild. It's wild. I mean, to have someone that is using Prince William County resources to go after your kids and find where you live and threaten anybody that is going to talk about the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, that's going to talk about the Tatiana David case. Oh, we're going to post your kids. You're going to post your pictures. We're going to get you fired. I mean, where is the accountability? And at what point do you get the federal government involved?
I don't work at Sheltering Arms VCU, but you're more than welcome to call them.
You know, I think they're going to fuck around and find out. They don't know who Charlotte is. Charlotte has been doing this for a long fucking time. And, you know, I find it interesting when I'm telling her about Stephanie Claiborne, the wife of the investigator online, blah, blah, blah. She starts showing me what she's been dealing with and how the wives of the investigators and how they are actively online using the police department resources to troll whoever is talking about corruption. And then you find out that this is nothing new when you're talking about police misconduct.
They are something else, that's for sure. They're not even worth my conversation about them, to be honest.
You know, Charlotte,
what they want is your energy, and I'm not going to give them.
Now, I'll tell you, Charlotte, that this is Tatiana David being dragged out of the vehicle.
Until they're willing to come out with their like we do on public pages, we're very clear about who we are.
Yeah.
We show our faces. I will not give the time of day or even the thought of day to anybody that hides behind dog pictures and fake pictures that aren't them and fake names. Like, I think and you can speculate all day about who they are, but if they're not willing to admit that's who they are, they're
100% terrified. They are.
I would recommend that everybody just fucking ignore, block, stop talking, because they'll become very irrelevant very fast. I mean, somebody was telling me they were talking about me, and I was just like, okay. And then, well, they're saying this. I mean, people were worried. They thought that if you don't know healthcare, if you're not a nurse, it's understandable to think that you can actually get me in trouble for not reporting something that Glenn told me. Actually, no.
In his own words, on a recorded line, that he's fucking a 16-year-old at the time. What are we talking about here?
Details, but either way, mandated to report things that happen at my work. I think they saw my own GoFundMe, which my lawyer wrote, by the way, the second one. My lawyer wrote that one and talked about how I was a mandated reporter, and how all my stuff with the police here started over this kid that lived in my neighborhood that was being abused. And he mentioned two facts. He didn't say that I was mandated to report that. So I think they were reading that and thinking that, oh, she was mandated to report that, she must be mandated. I invite them to call the Board of Nursing. I invite them to do whatever it is that they did. They're all over my social media commenting. I just block.
That's exactly what I do. They come up with a troll page and they put whatever, and I find it funny that they never turn on their camera. I just block it. I'm like, goodbye.
And anybody else that's telling me about them, I really appreciate you trying to give me the heads up. I don't even want to hear it because I truly don't care.
I swear to God, I know how you feel. Yep. Now, Charlotte, those individuals that you see on the body cam are the same individuals that responded to my brother's vehicle accident. The same police officer that you seen them laughing feet away from Tatiana David, a black girl that they shot and killed and repositioned and pretend they found her outside the vehicle, are laughing and joking about the...
Their statement said that they didn't actually participate in the shooting, right?
Their statement specifically is to clarify this post after this went on the internet. To clarify this post, Prince William County Police showed up after the shooting took place. We were not involved in that aspect of the incident and assisted agencies on scene after the fact. If you have an allegation of corruption against our agency with merit, you can file a complaint online at blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, you can address any concerns surrounding this particular incident to Virginia State Police. We see Prince William County drag a dead black girl riddled with bullet holes. That's an AR-15. And their best response and what they're going to say, we showed up after the fact. After the fact of what? You showed up to cover this up? What exactly are you telling us? So you're not telling us that nothing happened. Well, of course you can't tell us nothing happened. You've got a black girl getting dragged out of the vehicle, repositioned with 50 bullets of AR-15 bullet holes. Reposition. I mean, the cover-up is worse than the incident itself.
The thing that they should be embarrassed about, but I'm sure they're not, is that they knew there was a kidnapping victim in the car, and they, without care or concern, just lit it. I didn't see the shooting part.
I mean, if this was a white girl,
lit this car the fuck up.
If this was a white girl, would they have put 50 bullets into that vehicle? If this was a white girl, would they have made the call to pursue an abductee? Or is it because it's a black girl that you have disregard for her life?
It just depends on the cop. I think some of them are just fucking monsters, and then the other ones are racist as shit and monsters.
Now, the thing is, we understand that someone made the wrong call, but accountability is important here. You have a police officer that made the call. Whoever is in charge made the call to pursue the vehicle. Made the wrong call to put 50 bullets into that vehicle. Where is the chief of police from having accountability and holding that police officer to have made the wrong call? I mean, how do we know that this situation is not going to repeat itself? You want to tell me that this situation is not going to repeat itself? Oh, are we going to have another cover-up?
So I guess it would be the chief of police and the superintendent, because there was Virginia State Police involved as well. And it's interesting. I don't know what to think of that superintendent of VSB because, the chief of police in Chesterfield called him personally and asked him to have his officers investigate me. The fact that he did so rubs me the wrong way. But then on the other side, I have spoken to somebody that used to be a police chief in Virginia. I won't say where. And this person told me that the superintendent is just always very accommodating. But if you're accommodating somebody to retaliate on a citizen for exercising their First Amendment rights, I think that you're corrupt, and I can't help but feel that.
No, Charlotte, I have your video with that incident. With one of the incident with state police on TYT. I'm gonna play that really quick, and then we're gonna talk about it.
Officer Scott.
Officer Scott.
Also happened to mention in a prior TikTok of specifically preying on black and brown folks. Look at it. Okay? Carter told the Daily Beast Scott followed her for 2 to 3 miles before stopping her for allegedly illegally turning right on red.
So, Mr. Scott, you pull over 80% black people. I went through all of your tickets for 6 months. And when there's a population of only 20% white people, right, black people, only 20% of the population in Chesterfield is black. I don't know how you managed to ticket over 80% minorities. And I did TikTok about it. I know that you know what I'm talking about because all y'all know about my TikToks, so that's okay.
I'm not on TikTok, so no, I don't.
And then someone even commented said, I'm pretty sure S. Scott is a state trooper. I said, well, whoever it is, he's gung-ho because I only had to go back 6 months with you. In the past 6 months, you had ticketed, from when I did this about a month or two ago, you had ticketed 250 people that in Chesterfield that had gone to Chesterfield court. And the person that I did in comparison to you had ticketed 240 people in an entire year. But you, I only had to go back 6 months, so you sure do write a lot of tickets, but...
You can take your pen. That's yours. There's your ID and your copy, okay?
That's funny. That is funny.
Boy, he's on it. He's a real zealous officer there. Okay? Turning right on red. Charlotte Carter pulled over. How did she start?
Charlotte, I think you had a conversation with one of the delegates about this a while back, right?
I've had a conversation with a couple of
I think, yeah, they're yeah.
Fowler?
I think Kelly Fowler kicked into the
Yes.
conversation.
I think when I reposted something because it was like one of those on this day posts.
Yeah.
And she's commented on a video or two of mine before. I think the one before that was where this ex-cop was following me, hiding around corners, peeking around, waiting to get me alone. Anyway, she was like, we've got to do something, like, this is still going on, which it is still going on, but that was an old video, and it's not still going on in that they've just changed their ways and antics. You know, now it's lawsuits and that's fun. Yeah, so she has reached out to me a couple times. I've also gotten into it with delegates before. Delegate, what the fuck was it? What was his name? He was besties with the chief of police.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tim Anderson. He didn't like me very much. And he represented the guy that followed me around because I had him charged with stalking. But he did, I think those charges were not guilty or dismissed or something like that. There's a couple other delegates I've spoken to.
I mean, these people will use the resources that they have, and if they find out that you're talking about anything in the county, they're going to use those resources to come after you. Whether it's the police pulling you over, whether it's the lawsuits that will follow, whether it's trolls that are coming after you, they'll use everything.
Yeah, I had my own little mini group of trolls, kind of similar to what you have, except I very easily, mine were not good at, I've not tried to look up who yours are, but when it was people harassing me, I had a friend that is good at kind of uncovering who people are behind sites, and she found the first person for me, and it happened to be the sister-in-law of the sergeant who was always present and ordering his flunkies to arrest me for trespassing on my own property. And then I uncovered another one, which was her friend.
Yeah.
The whole family, it's like a bunch of nepotism. And so the cops, I wouldn't be surprised some of these people are, or some of the cops extended family or loved ones or friends, this thin blue line or whatever the fuck it is, these people are wacko.
I'll tell you, I find it interesting watching your interaction with that state police officer and how he's targeting you and pulling you over. I want to tell you about an incident that I had in the middle of me going and finding one of the witnesses that saw my brother get beaten inside the jail. So Mustafa Al Jazari, yes, ma'am. So I went and tracked one of the witnesses, one of the inmates that was across from my brother, that saw what happened to my brother when correctional officer entered my brother's cell, beat him, sexually assaulted him, denied him medical. That incident. Now I have the CCTV.
The one that he's on the phone in one of your videos, right?
Richard, no, yes, exactly. Richard Brooks. Let me play. I'm gonna play the video. I'm gonna play his audio, and I want to tell you a very disturbing. When I finally tracked Richard Brooks, apparently what they're doing, they will attempt to impede you and have you tell you that we're watching you and we're gonna do everything we can to stop you from moving this forward. My brother has a lawsuit against the county jail for going into his cell, beating him, sexually assaulting him, and denying him medical. Now, this is the lawyer that at the time was representing Mustafa, Elaine Jarvis.
Front Row, Virginia, and I have some breaking news from a case that we're working and appearing in the Eastern District of Virginia and the Alexandria District tomorrow. We're seeking a preliminary injunction to have our client, Mustafa Al transferred from Prince William Regional Adult Detention Center and either held as he awaits trial in a different regional jail where they're not beating him and denying him medical treatment, or preferably held at home on an ankle bracelet.
Now, this is Elaine Jarvis, the lawyer that was representing Mustafa at the time of the lawsuit. And what you hear in the background is the audio of the inmate that witnessed Mustafa getting beaten up, sexually assaulted, and denied medical.
For 18 months as he awaits trial. And while in jail, he has been beaten.
This is the picture. This is the picture of the inmate that saw Mustafa that I finally tracked and took an affidavit from.
Absolutely don't agree, because if we don't have these videos come out, these abuses, these beatings will continue. And we are Americans. We are not afraid of the light of day. This is a picture of my client, Mustafa Al Jazari. This is 2 weeks after the video that will show you at least part of what happened in jail, which is him being carried semi-conscious out of his jail cell by 6 guards. And you will hear testimony from a fellow inmate who saw the beating. Please watch this, and please understand that if we don't stand strong and speak out on behalf of our rights, none of us will have them. Thanks for listening, and God bless you.
You was at 32 at the time, right across from me. I just got done talking to my mom on the phone, and I witnessed the CO's going into his room, pushing him up against the wall, handcuffing his hands behind his back, slammed him down onto the ground, and kicking him. And then after that was done, he kept on saying, "Do not resist," and he wasn't resisting at all. He was laying there, and they picked him up, started carrying him down the stairs, took him into cell 1, and did it again.
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
And that's all I have.
That's my older brother. He's got a question for you. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good, how's it going?
Good. We just want to say, we really appreciate your call.
No problem. He's like a brother to me, man. It's like, we both use prayer rugs and everything, and I respect him. And it should never happen to him.
It's crazy because when he says it, people always say, they question things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you would think that it would never happen to anybody.
Exactly, and then you witness it, and you're just like, what do I do? And I told his COs, I said, Dad, I'm gonna be his witness no matter what because it's messed up what they did. They do that to a lot of people, and they think they can get away with it if they can. It needs to be stopped.
Now you see a unconscious, handcuffed Mustafa get dragged by 6 correctional officer out of that cell and down the stairs into another cell where they take him into that cell, and they beat him again and they sexually assaulted him. Now this is a CCTV inside the jail. This is sealed by the government. Elaine Jarvis released that video, and I have an audio where she's telling me, I'm gonna pretend that I fired you, continue to pay you under the table. This video is in the public domain. You can go ahead in front of the governor office, hold your podcast, and I'm going to continue to pay you under the table. Now, Elaine Jarvis is getting sanctioned by the county to use a scapegoat, and to saving herself, she's suing her paralegal. Unfortunately for Elaine Jarvis, we have a date on the 26th, and there are exhibits that will be shown to Judge Funk that will hold her accountable for lying to Judge Funk. Now, Mustafa, one of the correctional officers hits him on the head, kicks him. You see an unconscious, handcuffed, naked Mustafa get dragged from one cell into another cell where they beat him and sexually assault him. Now, this is a witness that was across from Mustafa on a recorded line telling us what happened. Now, on the day that I tracked this individual down for an affidavit, this is Richard Brooks. This is who you hear on the video. These are Mustafa's injuries. His arm is 3 times the size of a normal arm. You have a bumpy head. And these are pictures from his injuries 3 weeks after they hit him. Now, this Mustafa is in solitary confinement. The only person that has access to Mustafa is a correctional officer. So, 3 weeks after that video, these are Mustafa's injuries. Now,
something very interesting about that injury
yes, ma'am.
to his upper arm.
Yes, ma'am.
They claimed that they had already done something to address it or to assess it and make sure that he was okay. But when I was going through the Pacer, I used Pacer to go through some of the things that had not been hidden from the public that Elaine Jarvis had filed. And some of this was his nursing records and documents. It appears that he had an x-ray to his forearm.
Yes, ma'am.
Which would be right here. But this is where the injury was.
Exactly.
So they x-rayed the arm, just not the part that actually needed to be x-rayed, it looks like, from what I could see. Isn't that wild?
You know, they're attempting to pretend that they gave Mustafa medical. They attempt to pretend that they gave Mustafa medical. But this is a failed effort. They're being sued in federal court. Now, what is going on with Elaine Jarvis? 1 minute she comes out and she's an advocate for Mustafa. She says, I believe in the First Amendment. What is done to this family is not okay. What's happening with Mustafa? And clearly the whole community saw these videos. And then she makes contact with the jail lawyers, Thomas McMillan, Rachel Adams. Now, Rachel Adams, a lot of people don't realize that she has a deep history with Mustafa. She's the same lawyer that was representing the police in Mustafa's lawsuit against the police. Mustafa was suing the police department before the vehicle accident. And it was Rachel Adams with Thomas McMillan. Now, Elaine Jarvis Law, makes contact. Thomas McMillan, yes, ma'am.
In Richmond?
Oh, Richmond, yes, ma'am. Rachel Adams.
What's her name?
Rachel Adams.
Okay, go ahead.
So, Elaine Jarvis makes contact with Rachel Adams with Thomas McMillan. And then all of a sudden, Elaine is not Elaine anymore. Elaine, the one that is on video, speaking on Mustafa's behalf in federal court, suing for Mustafa, The Elaine that publicized the video. I mean, we all saw Elaine come on camera and say, "I'm releasing these videos. The judge, blah blah blah, and I'm releasing these videos." All of a sudden, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I'm going to stay out of that one, but I think that there are a few different plausible explanations for what made her turn, and I'm not saying that yours isn't valid. I think that maybe she was in over her head, and there's a lot. Those people are ruthless.
Well, the same Elaine that said on multiple occasions, she keeps telling me, she said, "I don't think I'm going to be able to keep my electricity bill on." She complains about her electricity. She said, I don't think I'm going to have money to keep the electricity on." Now, Elaine Jarvis has two offices after she drops the Mustafa Al Jazari case. Now, what was I doing in the Elaine Jarvis office? Elaine Jarvis hires me as a paralegal. And Charlotte, what am I doing in Elaine's office? I'll tell you what I was doing. I'll tell you. No, well, I'll tell you. I was she asked me to compile a list of all the inmates that I've come in contact with that have been mistreated by Prince William County Adult Detention Center. And she had me compile a list of all the inmates, their families, and she reached out to each of one of those inmates that have been wronged and violated by this jail. And she represented these families. Isaac Travis, Muhammad Ikram Shardel. She attempted to represent Juan Campos, but Juan Campos had a lawyer. Every inmate that Rodney Ward. Now, a lot of and I have a list. Now, a lot of these inmates, a lot of the inmates that I made contact with, most of them are inmates that witnessed my brother mistreatment inside the jail, and they were witnesses to my brother's lawsuit. Now, I've intercepted one of the conversation with Rodney Ward, and I have this on a recorded line where Elaine Jarvis is threatening Rodney Ward and she did not want him to testify for Mustafa. Now, this doesn't make sense to me. You're representing Mustafa in a lawsuit in federal prison, and here you are threatening the witness, telling him.
I think it's better to, like in nursing, we're taught to say objective information. So what was she saying?
She was telling him the jail is going to murder you if you testify for Mustafa. And she repeated it so much that she's convincing him, and she's telling him she did not want him to testify for Mustafa. Now, I have that on the recorded line. Now, you want to tell me that you're representing Mustafa, you take his witness, and you threaten his witness into not testifying, to the point where the kid was so terrified. He says, "Ma'am, I'll do whatever you want. You don't want me to testify? I'm not going to testify." I have that on recorded line. Now, let's find out how ethical for Judge Funk to hear that in court on the 26th. How ethical is it for the bar to be okay with it?
So there would have been I think when it comes, my understanding, because I'm dealing with a situation right now where I'm wondering if there's a conflict. The county attorneys had represented that officer who is suing me currently, and they were disqualified from representing this officer because you can't use taxpayer money to sue me for a private citizen. It doesn't, just because he happens to be a cop. The county attorneys are only allowed to represent people that work for the county for things that come out of their job duties, like the provisions of their work. Anyway, so they were disqualified, and now the disqualified county attorney's husband is representing him. And what I was told is that when there is some sort of conflict like that, the person who, the officer that now the husband's representing him, as long as they make the client aware of the conflict, it's the client's position to stay with him, then I'm told that portion is not an ethical conflict.
Now, I find it interesting.
Was
Interesting. Yeah.
Mustafa made aware of the ethical conflict
There you go. That's exactly what I was going to ask you. Now, she's asking because an incident happened to Mustafa and an incident happened to Rodney Ward. In the same breath, she's telling Mustafa to testify for Rodney. In the same breath, she's telling Rodney not to testify to Mustafa and threaten him not to testify for Mustafa. Charlotte, what are we doing here?
Threaten, but that's only because I'm being sued for defamation. So I'm very careful about what I say.
I mean, you should hear the audio and you tell me what is going on.
Information of what she says and let other people come to the determination.
But here's the thing: how objective are we? I mean, you should hear the audio. When you hear the audio, you're gonna be running with threat.
I wouldn't. You know me. I wouldn't. I wouldn't say it at all. I would say exactly what they said and let people hear it.
I mean, to tell.
You know, because I'm tired of being sued.
I'll tell you. In the audio, she's telling him, if you testify, I don't want you to testify because the jail is gonna kill you. Rodney, the jail is gonna kill you. Rodney, the jail is gonna kill you. Do not. And Rodney's like,
for her to be in my, wouldn't
yeah.
her threatening me saying I'm gonna kill you? I think she's intimidating. Maybe the word, but not if that's what was said.
But then she goes to Mustafa and then tell Mustafa, we need you to testify for Rodney. Wait a minute, you're not using the same. What are we doing here? So you're basically getting rid of Mustafa's witness. That's beautiful. Well, the reason I'm talking about this, the reason I'm bringing this up, is all of a sudden, Elaine Jarvis drops the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, files a lawsuit against me, and dropped every single person that she represented. All the people that she had me compile a list, the individuals that were testifying for Mustafa, all the people that she reached out.
She had this Rachel bitch, or whatever the fuck her name is.
I'll tell you what she was doing.
And she didn't play offense back, and that's what my lawyer. I don't want to. I only know little bits and pieces. I don't feel like I have enough to really make an opinion or speak on it. But
I'll give you my opinion. I'll tell you that she was collecting information for Rachel Adams and the jail lawyer.
I don't rule anything out. I think if that's the case, it would have been later on after, she's pissed at you for something that let me stop talking. I don't want to get involved in that situation.
I'll tell you, I have exhibits. That one.
I've seen them, and I've spoken.
Yeah.
I've spoken privately. Just some things I just prefer not to speak about because.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you. This is and I know exactly where you're coming from. Elaine Jarvis.
My goal
yeah.
is my goal here is to. I've become a pessimist, and it's unfortunate because I used to believe that there was a way to achieve justice, and justice would be the people, like the officer Drum and anybody who has, committed gross misconduct and violations of civil rights, etc., as far as CEOs and all that. Justice would be for them to no longer have a job and to be.
Oh, I promise you, she's not gonna have a job by the time I'm done with her. Yeah,
how I don't have faith in that happening anymore.
I'll tell you.
Justice will ever come to them, and that's why they're not scared.
I'll tell you, Charlotte. One thing that I'm gonna make sure that yes, ma'am.
Is for Mustafa to be free, and I don't think there is a dollar amount that could possibly be retribution for the bullshit that these people have put you guys through. But I tell you, apologies are needed. My lawyer said we could write that into a lawsuit. These people will never get what they deserve professionally, but karma will come back. And I'm not. These are not threats. These are my personal beliefs about karma and how what goes around comes around naturally. Not that anybody's going to do anything to anybody.
I mean, Charlotte, look at what's happening here. I don't think these people count on the fact they've been doing it for so long that they're comfortable with stepping on people because people usually get scared enough to walk away. I mean, what's happening here? I mean, if you take a deep look at what's happening here, they fail to realize that we're not going away. As a matter of fact, we're only fighting back harder. I mean, do they not realize that I got trained as a paralegal that know how to write his own motion, that knows how to stand in court and show exhibits? I mean, on February 26th, I'm going to show exhibit that Elaine Jarvis lied about the protected material. She's telling Judge Weimer, she's telling Judge Funk that between the hour of the afternoon and the hour of night, on the day that she fired me, that I went into her vault and took the criminal discovery material, when in fact I have evidence, an exhibit that's going to be played out in court, that she's aware that I had the discovery for the criminal case from another source. And I'm telling her, a police officer supplied me with that material, and she's been aware of that fact. Now, only after.
Yeah, I have to go look at your videos. I haven't been able to get up.
Oh man, you'll be shocked.
There's so much going on.
Ma'am, you'll be shocked. And Judge Funk is going to realize that this lawyer is lying to him. Now, only after she publicized the jail videos and they put her under a sanction, she's going to use a scapegoat, her paralegal as a scapegoat. I mean, Charlotte, I have an audio where Elaine is telling me, I'm going to pretend I fired you. You're still working for me under the table. I'm going to continue to pay you under the table. The jail videos are online. They're public. Go ahead in front of the governor's office. Carry on with your podcast, and I'm going to pay you under the table? What the fuck are we talking about? Now, how does Judge Funk like to hear that audio? By the way, it's part of the exhibits. It's part of the exhibits, and that's going to be played on the 26th. You should have seen the look on her face, her lawyer's face, when Judge Funk is giving me the whole entire day. Her lawyer is like, Judge, can we just rule on it today without looking at the exhibit? The judge, Judge Funk says, the same way I'm listening to you, I'm going to listen to you. And, sir, you have the whole entire day on the 26th. And, I mean, you should have seen the look on their face. I promise you, by the time I'm done with Elaine and the Lake of Elaine, she's not going to be able to do this to another family. I mean, to come into our life and feed us a bunch of lies only to be purchased with a couple of dollars by a jail lawyer, and now you have a lawyer hiring another lawyer to go after a paralegal, and now you have a second office when just the other day you couldn't pay your electricity bill. What are you doing? And I promise you, by the time I'm done with this lady, she's not going to do this to another family. But I was going to, yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot.
You know, another thing I wanted to add is there were people saying, oh, you were just coming up with different scenarios and people to blame, but that's what the police should have been doing in an investigation, is checking all possible theories and other possibilities. In an investigation, a good officer doesn't just decide almost ahead of time, it seemed like, who the guilty person was, and only try to fabricate and manipulate evidence to find that person guilty.
Now, Charlotte, yes, ma'am.
They were even told things in interviews with, I think, the ex-husband or something. I can't remember. I'm really bad with names, but
Yeah.
information that, at a minimum, should have made a reasonable and ethical and constitutional officer know that he needs to further look into and rule that out. From the get-go, I think it's very obvious. Any reasonable person who looked at the facts here that you've posted and what they haven't posted anything would see that these people did not really do any investigation and that they decided Mustafa was guilty. I mean, what did they say when they were on scene? Don't let that motherfucker get away. You follow that. That's,
Yep.
like, what?
Yep. You know, Charlotte, I find it interesting that you have individuals that say I'm coming up with different scenarios when the prosecutor herself is concealing the evidence and terrified to really end.
People have a hard time. That's why I said just do objective information. People, when you're this like, when I was I went through the same thing, and it's because. Okay, so, like, when I was being harassed, I still am, but when I was being arrested and it was much more in your face with the police in my county and the issues I had with them, everybody probably thought, if I would have told this story to myself and it wasn't me I was talking about, I would have thought I was a paranoid schizo. People don't want to believe that, you know, we've been trained to think that the police are supposed to be there to protect and serve, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are aware that they have, you know, bad apples, or that they're capable of some things, but nobody wants to believe that they're this bad, right? Because
Yeah.
then everything you've been taught, everything that you've been
But that's not what I'm saying, though. But Charlotte, that's not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. Yeah. That is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying every police officer is bad. As a matter of fact, there. Yeah.
This is why people have a hard time grasping the information we're giving. Is because when you're in the situation and dealing with it, you're telling people, and it is hard to believe, because until it happens to you, it is almost impossible to believe that anybody could be this fucking psychotic and cruel, and, you know, for reasons that make no sense, right, to a logical mind, because we are logical people. These people's brains are wired differently, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to accept that, right?
Yeah. Now.
And if you're not in it, it's really hard to grasp.
Now, Charlotte, you know, the other side says that you had this scenario, you had this scenario. I've had one scenario all along. Now I'm investigating details that are coming out. What do you want me to do when the police department are telling me that this vehicle had mechanical failure, and I have Dorothy's 18-year-old daughter going up to the ex-boyfriend and saying, "Can we kill Mustafa and make it look like an accident?" Now, it's one thing.
And this is what the ex-boyfriend claims. So we don't have evidence that she said that. We have him claiming that. He refuses to comment on it, and they refuse to hold him accountable, which, in my opinion, at least should warrant public suspicion.
Well, what do we have here? We have Dorothy's daughter. At the time, she was 16. She has a lot of animosity against Mustafa. A lot. Now, in her own word, she says that my father works for Billy, Billy the club owner, that she hung out with all the strippers. Now, is it possible? This is Billy. Billy had a giant problem with Mustafa. Billy is an owner of the strip club at Crystal City. Now, if you don't know Billy, let me introduce Billy for you. He's a very powerful person in that town. He owns a strip club passed down by his dad. He owns half the block. That guy's rich. Now, if you know anything about strip clubs, you're fucking with the mob. Now, Mustafa is on public property, is promoting his business, and Billy does not like a Mustafa that is making money and seems to want to tell Mustafa what to do. So he comes out and he wants to kick Mustafa from public property. Now, that's not his property. It's a public easement. It's a public easement. It's not owned by any of the businesses. It's a public easement. And if you look it up by law, Mustafa has every right to be there. Now, this incident happened. We're going to play that video. A month into that incident, Mustafa meets Dorothy. Now, her daughter is saying, "My dad pierces all the strippers for Billy." Do you know what kind of relationship you have to be in that you're able to pierce all the strippers for Billy? Now, Dorothy's daughter seems to have a lot of animosity against Mustafa. And what does she say? She says, on a recorded line,
What is this you're about to play?
yeah, this is Dorothy's daughter, Kylie, saying that my dad worked for Billy and all the strippers hate Mustafa. Is that why you hate Mustafa?
He's a piercer. So he pierces like a lot of strippers.
No, let me finish this point.
He had brought up to them what happened, and they were in who they were, and they were like, "Yeah, we know this guy. Like, he used to record our license plates and put it on the internet, and like follow us home and stuff." So I also was thinking, I don't want them to follow me home, and I don't want to put myself in a position where unsafe.
What is that about?
She's telling us that her dad pierces all the strippers for Billy. Now, this is Billy. A month into this incident where Billy went viral and almost ran out of business, people were boycotting his business for being racist to Mustafa. Let's watch that video. He meets her mom, unbeknownst to Mustafa. Mustafa doesn't know this. Okay? All he knows in the background, he doesn't even know what's going on. You have Kylie hating the fuck out of him. I mean, Glenn Ford, on a recorded line, says that Kylie came up to him and solicited that he kill Mustafa and make it look like an accident. That's what Glenn Ford says. Okay? Now, is Kylie asking anybody else to kill Mustafa? And why is Kylie asking to kill Mustafa?
Just clarify that we don't have evidence that she's done that. Glenn Ford is claiming she did that.
Well,
Why
would Glenn Ford lie about that? But the question is, why would Glenn Ford lie about that? That's a good question.
I'm not saying he would, but I'm just saying, why isn't anybody questioning him? We need to start with the source, the objective information that we have.
He's not. He's running away from the conversation.
And he's talking to a stranger, so there's no reason that he would have had to take one stance or the other. Like, there's absolutely, as far as he knew, I had no idea who any of these people were. So there's no reason for him to want to tell me something he thinks I want to hear. Why did he say that?
Why would he lie about that?
And why isn't anybody questioning that? That's concerning.
Okay, so we have Glenn Ford, the ex-boyfriend, who in the same breath says that Kylie, when he was in a relationship with her mom, Glenn Ford, the ex-boyfriend, says while he was in a relationship with her mom, that Kylie would go up to her mom and she would argue with her mom and yell at her mom and tell her mom, and every time that she's around, there's drama. And Kylie would specifically say that we're fucking the same guy. Okay.
What I remember hearing in the audio, which everybody can go listen to that if I'm wrong. That's the best evidence. But I'm going to start with the fact that I grew up with a very toxic mother, right? And at that time, Kylie's an adult now, but at that time, Kylie was 16. And I think about my kids and how they have felt towards somebody I was with. And if I can, my kids, they haven't liked my boyfriend before. And I tell them, you don't have to like him. You know what I'm saying? But let me just say this. She, from what I'm understanding, may have felt abandoned by her mom. And instead of, because children are not able to, a child should not be abandoned by their mom, right? Like,
yes, ma'am. Yeah.
It is my opinion that it was.
I mean, I feel bad for this girl. Do I feel bad for her? Of course I do.
To fix whatever issues. If she felt like Kylie was acting out, it was probably because she wanted discipline and love and attention, right? And she may not have been getting it.
I mean,
I'm not saying that makes it okay to go say, can you kill somebody?
I mean, what is exactly? I mean, what?
But what I'm saying is, in my opinion, not to speak ill of the dead, Dorothy has the responsibility to ensure her children are psychosocially, emotionally, and physically well. And from what I've gathered, I think maybe rest in peace, Dorothy probably didn't have, or she had some trauma done to her, which unfortunately wasn't corrected in her parenting, as far as at least Kylie may go. And so because I've been through that, and I'm not excusing, if what Glenn Ford says is true, I'm not excusing that, but the child is not the one who should have to fucking go live somewhere. And she wasn't Mustafa's kid. I'm putting this on Dorothy. Mustafa didn't have kids. You know what I'm saying? Mustafa, I'm sure, was listening to whatever Dorothy said.
Now, keep in mind. Yes,
It's
ma'am.
unfortunate to me that Dorothy did not put that girl first. And I
No.
think I have a little bit of a sympathy card for her because
Well,
of it.
well, keep in mind, Mustafa met Dorothy 3 months after this incident. Dorothy was already separated from Kylie by CPS before Mustafa met Dorothy.
And there were
Now,
other things that
Kylie,
that Glenn Ford said to me about her that, if true, really, they explains why they were separated beforehand. And anyways,
now Glenn Ford,
I feel,
now,
I think that this girl, I hope,
you
I don't
know,
want to say that. I don't want to talk. I don't want to say like she needs help because that's not. I don't
oh,
want to.
100% she needs help. 100%.
I think that she. I think that Kylie should, or not Kylie. What's her face? Dorothy should have put her first. I think she failed her as a parent. The oldest usually is, unfortunately, if you're learning to get your life together and be a better person and be a better parent, the oldest, that sometimes it's too late. But I wish the best for her. I hope that she doesn't go threatening to kill other people, and I hope she can realize that Mustafa wasn't the person she should have been mad at. But she might not right now because she this is I don't think she's probably progressed to the point she's not she's 18, but in my opinion she's not a freaking adult still mentally, especially if she's been through trauma.
But the police
The
department,
worst thing for her is to be hanging around this group of psychos.
but Charlotte, the police department is taking everything that this girl say and they're making it a fact. And they're terrified that the body cams.
They use people and they use their pain to get what they want.
Now,
And whether she said that or not to Glenn Ford, why in the fuck did Glenn? My question is, he's a fucking adult, much older than her, and the fact that she felt comfortable to even, if it's true,
he's fucking her. He's fucking that 16-year-old girl. Look,
my eyes are on him.
exactly. For a 16-year-old girl at the time to ask a 40-year-old man, can we kill somebody and make it look like an accident? I don't have to sit here and listen to him telling me that he fucked her. I know he fucked her. Now, this girl comfortable.
I'm not gonna go there.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll go there because on a recorded line, Kylie comes up to her mom at the time when she's in a relationship with Glenn Ford, and she says we're fucking the same guy. So I'm gonna go there.
What happened was, in the conversation, I think it's, from what I recall, Dorothy said something really that I think a mother shouldn't say to a daughter. Something about, calls her something like a really bad word for promiscuous, right? And when you're probably the reason that your daughter's any sort of fucked up in the first place because of, from what I understand, to go and fucking then put her down. I mean, I would have been.
I think we're beating a dead horse here when we have a recording of the conversation.
If anything had happened that Glenn Ford said is true, there may have been some exposure to things that no child at whatever age she was should ever be exposed to, and that falls on fucking Dorothy. You know what I'm saying? And I think any poor behavior she developed after that, she can still, whether she has or not, redeem herself from. She needs to get the fuck away from these psychopaths that harass you because they don't give a fuck about her no matter how much they compliment her and raise her a piggy bank and tell her that they are using her to fill their own high. And I hope that she is able to get past the fucked up shit that it sounds like her mom did to her.
Now I find it disturbing.
This
Yeah.
30, 40-year-old man that is, people are praising him for being a father figure to them and caring about them, but I'm sorry, no child feels comfortable going to a parental figure and saying, can you fucking kill somebody for me? But back to the statement about fucking the same person, if Dorothy exposed, because it's my understanding from more than one person that knew her, I don't know her, whatever, but if she at one time, for whatever reason, and I don't judge, was maybe selling something, like sexual favor herself for money, and then Glenn Ford pretty much suspected or hinted at the fact that this little girl who should never have been exposed to that may have been present at a minimum for that. But the reason when I asked him, I probed more. I said, why do you think that? Why do you say that she did that with the kids there and that something may have happened to her? He said, because of this comment where Dorothy called her a slut or something like that. And she said something about, well, we fucked the same guy. And I took it as a past tense. And it's fucked up to me that Dorothy would ever put her daughter or any child through something like that, and then actually call them a slut or blame them for anything, because children don't know how to process and handle things that they should never even have experienced.
I mean, Charlotte, what do we have here? We have a Glenn Ford. We have a Glenn Ford that talks shit about Dorothy.
She's been trained to have trauma. If all this is true, her brain is not able to make smart decisions, say smart things. I believe that I believe Glenn when he said that she asked him to do that. But the fact that she believed he would is concerning to me. And the fact that she felt comfortable saying that to someone that's supposed to be a parental figure is concerning to me.
Now, my question is.
Speculate on any relationship between them, but I can tell you from the conversation we had, I did get, and this is only speculation and intuition, a feeling that there was some inappropriateness, and I'm not going to speculate to what aspect, because at the end of the day, if there was, she would have been the victim. Glenn Ford would be to blame.
And the community is there to judge. We have an audio, and the community is there to judge Glenn Ford for what is going on. Now, my question is, Glenn Ford says, I think we're beating a dead horse with the Glenn Ford. It's Glenn Ford fucking a 16-year-old is blah, blah, blah. I think we're beating a dead horse. There's an audio and the community is there and they can ask him himself. Ask Glenn Ford. He's on the internet.
And you know I'm always going to speak mine.
Why is he telling us all this? Now, my question is.
Anybody asking him? That's what these people are.
They're mad at me. They're mad at you. Now, why are we having this conversation? Now, Glenn Ford, when you talk to him, he's bad-mouthing Dorothy from top to bottom. In a forensic interview, when you ask Kylie about her, when the forensic psychologist asks Kylie, she's bad-mouthing her own mother. The same way Glenn Ford is bad. She hates her mom. If you listen to that forensic interview, it is fucking disturbing that you have a child talk shit about her own mom. Now,
talk shit about mine, so
the point that I'm trying to make. The point that I'm trying to make is she's angry at Mustafa, and she's, according to the ex-boyfriend, she solicited him to kill Mustafa. Now this becomes very relevant, knowing that she knows Billy, that her dad works to Billy. Her dad works for Billy, and when she walks into that forensic interview, Kylie says, "My dad is making me come here." Now.
From a psychological, so I the connection is definitely worth investigating. I think that's wild. This dude went psycho on Mustafa, like, he's unhinged, right?
Now, why are we even talking about all this? We have a police department that says Mustafa's vehicle has mechanical failure, vehicle malfunction. The brake went out, the transmission went out, someone tampered in Mustafa's vehicle. And in the background, we have all this, and the police department is not investigating? I mean, where is the police department? You have...
Exactly. All of this stuff that you're explaining, whether factual or not, is a shit ton of other possibilities that are valid enough, that are close enough connections to be investigated.
Now, Charlotte, the question is, if I was saying any of this without Glenn Ford saying on a recorded line saying that Kylie came up to him, solicited to kill Mustafa and make it look like an accident, without the audio, I would look like a crazy person. If I didn't have the audio of Kylie herself saying my dad works for Billy, and I have the forensic interview where she said my dad is making me come here, I would look like a crazy person. Now, I have them saying it. This is worth investigating. What the fuck do we have here when Mustafa on dash camera gets in a tragic vehicle accident, when a witness expert watches the dash camera, look at the discovery, and look at everything, and she says this is a vehicle accident. The police mechanic is saying this is a vehicle. The vehicle had mechanical failure. You're telling me that the police department is just gonna look the other way?
They were not from the jump. They decided Mustafa was guilty and they wanted to make him pay. And I think that I feel, just because I've been through this, I think that they definitely knew who he was before. And didn't somebody else say he had been following him or something?
Well, the police body cam. Let me play that body cam for you. The police officer that got on the scene within minutes, he knew Mustafa, he knew Dorothy, and he knew the kids. And he said, "We've been watching them." Now, the question is, why are you watching Mustafa? And I'll tell you why. When we asked his previous attorney that was representing Mustafa in his over $500,000 lawsuit, this is what his attorney says. Let me pull up that conversation. There we go.
The investigator that wrote the report, he lied on the report. We recorded that conversation. I'm sure he did. Yes, sir.
I don't know if you guys can hear it. Is it loud enough? Let me play it on this cell phone.
Yes, sir.
There we go.
The investigator that wrote the report, he lied on the report. We recorded that conversation.
I'm sure he did.
Yes, sir.
Frankly, I'm sure they all know that you sued the Stafford cops. And they beat your brother up because they know that you sued the Stafford cops.
Yes, sir.
All right, who is this?
This is William. No, this is Mustafa's lawyer at the time when Mustafa had the lawsuit against the police before the vehicle accident from 2018 all the way to the vehicle accident. This is Mustafa Westlake Legal Group. Mustafa's lawyer at the time, and he was going up against Rachel Adams with Thomas McMillan. Look at this letter. Over $500,000 lawsuit.
Wait, is she with Thompson McMullen and she's the county attorney?
She's at the time when Mustafa was suing the police, she was the county attorney representing the police. Now that Mustafa is suing the jail, here we go again with Rachel Adams.
But did she work for a law firm? Because
Yeah. It's Thomas McMillan.
So they're outsourcing. Do they not have a county attorney?
They do have a count. Well, the jail has the main lawyer that represents the jail. What's her name? It's in the back of my name. But the county does have an attorney. I saw that lady during an executive meeting. The county executives, the meetings that they have every now and then when you get to speak. She's in one of the videos. But no, the county does have a lawyer.
So God, that's crazy. And so she used.
They're outsourcing. Yeah,
I think people
they're outsourcing.
Also, really underestimate the lengths that police will go to.
Yeah.
When they know that there's a potential lawsuit against them, instead of making the changes within the department and doing the training that's necessary and trying to become better and use mistakes as a way to improve.
Yeah.
If you do the research, it's very easy to find, and it's very well known that police departments literally have budgets for social media to go and try and change to flood a certain post that's negative on them with comments that act like the majority of the population is in support of the police. They spend a substantial amount of money on investigating the people that they have committed civil rights violations against and misconduct against, because they want to continue to get federal grants.
I'm gonna run them out of money. By the way.
They need to not be found in the wrong.
Yeah.
And there, I think, also people with narcissistic type personalities and egomaniacs kind of gravitate towards positions of power, anyways.
I promise you, I'm gonna run them out of money. I'll tell you, the sheriff, the deputy sheriff, Major Terry, comes up to me and he says, "We have a budget in the sheriff office that monitors your social media."
Yes, I mean, I FOIA'd
It's disturbing.
from Chesterfield County about me, and the majority of them were completely blacked out, redacted. But the dozens that I have, I mean, I had just made a new TikTok, and they were like, Charlotte Carter, did you see this video that she shared? This is her new backup TikTok. This is what it is. I mean, they came to my court cases. They monitored my romantic life, my friend life. If they thought I wasn't friends with anymore, they would try and bring people into the office to interview them.
Yep. Yep.
It's crazy the lengths they go to.
But I'll tell you, I'm gonna run them out of money. And specifically, every podcast.
Pockets, because their money is the public's money.
Well, I am on this roller coaster and I'm not getting off. I'll tell you.
Just like me, I'm the same way.
I'm trained as a paralegal, and I know how to write my own motions, and I know how to talk. And do you know how much it costs for them to sit on my podcast and sit there every time I'm podcasting? A lot of money.
I just ended up just finding some humor. So a little bit of humor in the fact that, God, can you believe it's somebody's fucking job to monitor me? Like, what the fuck?
Look, all I have to say is if you're going to sit on my live and monitor my live,
I think if the taxpayers really had any idea.
man, I'll tell you, at least subscribe and comment the video.
Happy with this because it's
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. I think the county is going to wake up to a reality that we seem to have a common practice in Prince William County that every time you have police misconduct, they don't have accountability. They just go up to a judge and seal off the body cam. I mean, why is it that I'm updating the community on the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? You're telling me the only way you get to see this dash camera from a podcast, from a YouTube channel, and the Commonwealth attorney is telling you a bunch of things, but is terrified to show you the body cam or the dash camera? Or why am I updating you on the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? Why am I updating you on the Tatiana David case? Now, why am I updating you on any other case? And you want to tell me this county is not engaging in a cover-up for any police misconduct? It's sad. It's really sad.
Let them tell the story, and they are protecting the I can't remember what the wording they use is, but like basically their secret ways that they go about investigating crime, and they're I mean, you have literally two. It started with Chesterfield, and then it was Hanover. I don't know what happened to them. I think they went to the Federal Court of Appeals. You have two police departments that redacted over 90% of their officers' names when they were requested in a Freedom of Information Act request.
That's sad. That's really sad.
Our state policy says you cannot redact the names of officers and their salaries. It specifically says that. The only time you can is if they're undercover. So now they just claim they're all undercover. They all have the potential to go undercover. They're trying to change the definition of undercover. When are the people going to realize that and be mad and demand that our money that is funding taxpayer money is funding the police department, our government? We have the right to know what the fuck our money is being spent on. We're becoming one big police state. I've been reading articles about the new technology that is being given to police departments. I mean, like literally they can remotely, stuff that only the three-letter agencies used to have access to before. And if that's what the police are using now, I'm terrified because these people, they can get warrants for almost anything. They will create evidence to say that there's a danger. I 100% believe. I've seen where they may have been doing that with you, and I can show you where I believe that they were doing that with me. I think the whole state police investigation into me for online harassment of the chief of police was solely created to manufacture fake concern that I was a danger so that they could monitor me more closely.
Now, this is a very disturbing conversation. When you talk about what you just talked about, I've got details that I've got documents that show that this didn't start with Mustafa's vehicle accident, didn't start with the 2018 lawsuit. This goes back all the way to 2015. I have a document that says the FBI gave a blanket for local police to make it look like it's okay to do whatever you want. Now, what am I talking about? I've got pictures on the 2018. I've got a document that I'm going to be releasing. Now, why is 2015 relevant? My dad works contract overseas. I followed in his footsteps, and I did civilian contract overseas. We worked in Iraq. Now, in 2015, 2016, part of 2017, we were involved. I was involved in Iraq. Now, apparently, the FBI, there is documents that there is an investigation. Now, why are we under an investigation? I thought last time we checked, we were overseas serving this country. Serving what we're doing in Iraq. Free Iraq, the new Iraq, remove Saddam, and that was the new Iraq. I mean, are we not there under that context that we're serving this country, that we're bringing a new Iraq in light of removing Saddam Hussein, right? I mean, that's what we were doing in Iraq. Now, all of a sudden, you want to tell me that there are documents that say I'm under investigation by the FBI? That's interesting. And this started in 2015. I've got documentation. Now, I'll tell you what's really happening here is you've got...
They found a reason that would create a validity of some sort to investigate you, but that wasn't really the reason that they wanted to investigate you.
I'll tell you that someone is not talking to someone. You know, Charlotte, someone is not talking to someone that we're there serving this country, and you've got another agency that's disconnected from what's happening that they see. I mean, this is nothing more than local PD, local police, certain individuals that are not understanding what the fuck is happening. And the minute that you shed light on it, they get terrified. They're like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. We didn't know. We had no idea. Why are they terrified that we're connected with the DOJ and the FBI out of DC? I'll tell you why. Because this is nothing than local corruption, local PD who misunderstood the fucking assignment, that thought that it's okay to target this family. Well, they're about to fuck around and find out. We have files with the FBI department that explain who the fuck we are, what the fuck we've done for this country. And I promise Amy Ashworth, she fucked with the wrong family, and she's going to be held accountable by law. Every police officer that got involved in my brother's case and falsified and thought it was okay to seal off documents and body cam and get away with it, I promise that police officer they're going to be held accountable. And we are here, or we're not going away. Charlotte, I was telling you about Richard Brooks earlier. Richard Brooks, I tracked him down. Yeah.
This same guy who, when you look at the investigation into that incident where Mustafa was abused and they stripped him naked in the cell and allegedly took photos of him, etc. When you look at, and this is public information, okay? This is not speculation. Go look at the Pacer federal lawsuit. I can give it to anybody who wants it. When you look at the COs who initially documented notes about the incident where they removed him from one cell to the other, and they have him going down the stairs, his ass is hanging out of his pants. I don't know why you need that many people to go into this.
6. In the documents, they said there's only 3.
If you look at what they said, and then thank God you guys keep raising hell, so they're like, well, let's send somebody else in there, right? So then the Priya guy does his investigation.
They send in Detective S.D. Long. Yep.
Now, I want to point out that in the CO's documentation that was done at the time of the incident, it does not mention at all having to remove Mustafa's clothing, okay? And then you go to the Priya incident, And I can't remember if it was that, because after that, then you guys got a police officer from Prince William County Police
Detective
Department.
SD Long got involved. Yeah, Detective
And
SD. Yeah.
in the Prius thing, he says that Mustafa was walking down the stairs using his own strength and whatever. When you look at the police officer who came third, he says he was being carried down the stairs. Okay?
Yep.
And why is a police officer who questioned the COs, in his statement, he puts their explanation that they gave this officer. He puts it in writing that the officers said the only reason they had to take his clothing is because he had flooded his cell. So why the fuck didn't they mention that in the PRIA report or their initial documentation?
You know,
No mention of stripping him of his clothing.
well, according to the FBI, there is no CCTV video, and the incident never happened. According to FBI Special Agent Lindsay Coulter, Special Agent Samantha Adam, Supervisor Special Agent Huckle.
The police officer didn't even speak to him. Do you want to know why?
Yeah.
Because they worked together to come up with a reason not to, basically. So the PRIA guy he says, "Oh, we found him not to be a credible witness. He's not
This guy.
cognitively there,
This guy.
or something like that."
This guy. Now, I find it interesting.
You're telling me you're an officer doing an investigation and you don't even find out for yourself?
Now, you know, Charlotte, I find it interesting that they're saying this is not a. First of all, the FBI told us that we couldn't find this guy. We couldn't locate him. Special Agent Lindsay Coulter, Samantha Adam, Supervisor Huckle. They said when we told them about Richard Brooks, we had literally a recording that we supplied them with Richard Brooks, the audio that you heard earlier. And they said, Richard Brooks does not exist. We can't find him. Can you find him? That's what they're telling us. Inside the FBI building, that's what they're telling us. We're sitting on a table inside the FBI building, and Supervisor Huckle, and they're telling us, we can't find him. Can you find him? Now, I located Richard Brooks. I got an affidavit from Richard Brooks. Now, Charlotte, guess where right after I collect the affidavit, I have a Fairfax police officer around my RV, harassing my family that was actively protesting at the time. We were at the RV. They're at the RV, and another Fairfax officer pulled me over, and this happens.
It's not surprising at all. No matter which way it goes, they don't want to do the investigation.
You don't know who I am? No, sir. You haven't run my vehicle?
Of course, this goes viral. I think over 60, 70 people saw this video. When I show up in court, they drop everything and pretend I have no idea. I'm like, look, brother.
I had cops pretend not to know who I was all the fucking time, and then I get the emails where there's literally bulletins sent out. Well, actually, I didn't get those through FOIA. That was an inside source. These motherfuckers all had been updated for the purposes of not responding to media.
Like, we're not stupid.
Interact with me.
Yep.
They've all been ordered, if they come in contact with me, they're required to record with their body cam every incident, including phone calls. But they all claim not to know me, but they've all been like literally briefed on me.
I mean, Charlotte, you want to tell me that I locate the main witness in my brother's beating, and then this happens, and I have another Fairfax police officer at the RV harassing the family, and he says, I have no idea who you are, sir. I have, of course you know who I am. Of course you're pulling me over. Exactly. But you know, I'll tell you, but once you shed light on it, once it goes viral, and you shed light on it, and you refuse to walk away, in court, they dropped whatever tickets he gave me. He's the nicest officer in the world, and I'm telling him, I'm like, my problem is not with you. My problem is with the police department. That
Even if they don't care, they're not going to go against their superior order.
they're not. I know they're not. I know they're not. And I'll tell you. I'll tell you. We're not gonna walk away, and we're only gonna fight harder. I mean, Charlotte, look at what's happening.
I get it. I've been doing the same thing, but I'm telling you, man, you need a few days at the beach because you cannot take care of other people unless you take care of yourself.
Now, I'll tell you, and I appreciate you saying this, Charlotte. I love you for saying it, but I think they misunderstood who they're fucking with. I was in Iraq for a long fucking time, 2015, 16, and 17. Oh, fuck them. That's not what I'm going for. I don't care if they care. What they're fucking with is an individual that is too familiar with what they're doing. And this is not foreign to me. And I'll tell you what they're throwing at this family, what they're throwing at my brother, what they're throwing at me. You know, I'll tell you what. Uh, all the symptoms are there that we were in Iraq. The trauma, the stress, the paranoia. Except one thing they failed to realize is I'm used to it. I mean, I was there for a long fucking time, and I'm in my element. I'm in my element, and when I get fucked with, and I'll tell you, when I'm in my element, I get very calculated. As a matter of fact, I get very good at what I do. I mean, look at what I'm doing right now. I'm in this suit. I got trained as a paralegal. I know how to fucking write my own motion, and I am very calculated. And I promise this county, by the time I'm done with them, they're gonna end up in jail. Those individuals, like Amy Ashworth, Commonwealth Amy Ashworth, Prosecutor Sarah Sammy, and I'm gonna have so much fun with Elaine Jarvis. You have no fucking idea.
I have no comment on Elaine, but I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I hope that you're right. And I hope that you prove me wrong. I have no faith anymore that there's any accountability. Not to the level that there should be.
I mean, Charlotte, I'll tell you,
We've had this discussion many times.
look at how far we've come. I mean, if a year ago I were to tell you I have the body cams and the discovery for my brother, would you believe me? Would you believe me? No. Okay. If I were to tell you I'm going to be trained as a lawyer, I'm going to be writing my own motion. Remember when you came to the parking lot, the jail parking lot, and you sat down? Oh, I'm 100% being trained. I'm 100% being trained as a lawyer. I worked as a paralegal. I'm going to be taking my LSAT, and I'm in court writing my own motion.
Intentionally warp your words and try and charge you with something.
Do I look like a guy that gives a fuck? I mean, look at everything that's happening, Charlotte. Wake up, Charlotte. I'll tell you that I'm in my element. And I want to remind you when you first met me in the jail parking lot, when I sat down with you, that was just about like over a year ago. If I were to tell you that we're going to be here today, you would be like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Well, Charlotte, we're here. And, okay, we're here.
When I left the parking lot, the cops followed me.
Oh, I remember that one black SUV.
I can't remember. I have it on my dash cam, but
I think I
remember making sure my interior and my exterior front and rear facing cameras were all on because I knew it was going to happen because I know how these people work. But
Charlotte, I have the video. I have the video.
It wasn't a black. There was that too, but no. First the marked. It wasn't. They didn't even try.
It was an unmarked. It was an unmarked black Explorer.
There were two. First, the one followed me to the highway, and then there was another one.
I have the video from the jail parking lot, so if you ever need it, let me know.
You're talking about the one that came into the parking lot.
Yeah.
I'm talking about when I left, the one that came from down the street, one block down, and followed me all the way to the highway.
Well, Charlotte, I don't have access to their drones yet. Okay, I have well, okay, let me take that back. Okay.
This is what he does for a living.
I have whatever video. I have whatever happened in the parking lot. So if you ever need that video, I got you. Okay.
Fuck Prince William County, please.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm actively working on it. I have all their body cams and discovery for Mustafa's case and other individuals in the county. So, Charlotte, I hear you, and I'm actively working on it. Okay, by law.
Fuck those motherfuckers.
I'm gonna have my fingers. Look, I'm gonna have my fingers up their asshole so deep that it's gonna come out of their mouth, and I'm gonna be their spokesperson. As a matter of fact, I am already their spokesperson. I'm speaking on Amy Ashworth's behalf. Prosecutor Sarah Sammy on the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, while the Commonwealth attorney is too terrified to address the situation. What's going on here? You know, I'll tell you a funny story. I was at Walmart the other day, and I was buying a pair of boxers. And in the men's section, I kid you not, the pair of boxers are so secured behind that counter. They have glass window, they have a lock, and I had to get one of the employees behind the counter to open that, all for a pair of boxers. I mean, and I'm sitting laughing at the fact that a pair of boxers are secured behind the counter. And to have sealed material, why are we talking about this? To have sealed material, body cams, discovery, leaked out all over the internet. Leaked out all over the internet. And no one in the police department or the Commonwealth Attorney Office addressed the situation. I mean, your body cams and discovery, that a pair of boxers are more secured at Walmart than your body cams and discovery. And you don't have the balls to come out and address the situation to the county and help us understand what the fuck are we watching? Charlotte, what are we watching?
Corruption at its finest.
Corruption at its finest. But I'll tell you, you always have individuals that will come out, like Charlotte, who's fighting, who's familiar with corruption in her own county. And ma'am, I pray you're in our prayers for being part of the conversation.
I love you guys.
And on that note, this is not another boring podcast. Mustafa Al-Jazari through the police body cams. Judge Carol Weimer under the microscope. Charlotte, thank you for being part of the conversation. Shelly, Stefana, and everybody else, thank you for being part of the podcast. Charlotte, I love you, ma'am. I'll talk to you later.
As always, remind Mustafa, hang in there, stay strong.
I will. Love you, ma'am.
All right, bye. Love you, bye.
Shelly, Stefana, I love you guys.